This is the ACC on ESPN this afternoon from Charlottesville, Virginia. It's the finale of a three-game series between the Virginia Cavaliers and the 20th ranked Stanford Cardinal. And let's take a look at the top 10 in the latest D1 baseball poll. You'll see a couple of ACC teams in the top 6 with Florida State and Clemson. Virginia was the number 2 team in the country to open the season, but a 5-game losing streak they snapped on Thursday took them out of the top 25. And we welcome you inside our broadcast booth here at Disharoon Park in Charlottesville with Kyle Peterson. I'm Mike Farron. Our big story was the lack of power and lack of offense from Virginia coming into the weekend, but the last 2 days, that's turned around.
Yeah, if you watch this game on Thursday, you'd have thought we were lying to you when we came on the air, because it was how much Virginia's offense had struggled this year as compared to what we thought they would be. Well, the last 2 days, it's more of what we thought they would be. 2-out hitting was a story yesterday. They've hit 370 over the series. Coming into this weekend, they were dead last in the ACC in runs scored per game. That has not been the issue this weekend, and this is a Virginia team that if they hit, is going to be right in the middle of it in the ACC.
This weekend is the first chance for a national TV audience to see this young man, the freshman sensation, slugging Rintaro Sasaki for Stanford.
Rintaro Sasaki, Stanford University. I'm from Iwate of Japan. I play for my dad at Hanamaki Higashi High School. I set a Japanese high school record for career home runs. I came to Stanford to play Omaha.
He comes in as maybe the most highly touted freshman in the country. Rintaro Sasaki hit 140 home runs in high school. He broke Shohei Ohtani's high school record. That's how good this kid was coming in. He's hit in the middle of the Stanford lineup since he's been there. 4 home runs this year. Offensively has been fine. Sometimes you forget he's just a freshman. I think the expectations were a little bit different. It's a Stanford offense that this weekend, Mike, has swung it well enough to win. They just haven't pitched it well enough to win.
Yeah, the top of the lineup has scuffled a little bit. Sasaki just 1 for 9 through the first 2 games of this series. You can see the bottom of the lineup has done most of the damage. And on the mound for Virginia, the preseason All-American Evan Blanco slowed in the preseason by an infection in his wisdom teeth. He didn't get started until the middle of the year and in midweeks, but he's starting to round into shape for Virginia.
He was one of their best last year. He didn't miss a turn. Made every start on the weekend, pitched in the College World Series, and had a good one against North Carolina. Changeup is the difference maker. The fastball's real, it's good, but the changeup, especially against right-handers, is what Blanco really leans on. Still working himself into shape. You would think maybe 80 to 85 pitches, the top end for Blanco today, but if he can get back to being an ace, that changes this Virginia team for Brian O'Connor.
And the head coach of the Virginia Cavaliers, 1 win shy of 900 for his illustrious career, won the national championship here at Virginia in 2015. It's overcast, 77 beautiful degrees here in Charlottesville, Virginia, and Blanco's first pitch of the ball game to Trevor Haskins is a strike, and we are underway. Haskins, the leading home run hitter for this Stanford offense. Their third baseman homered last night in the loss. They had a 5-0 lead at one point before falling to Virginia last night 13-7. And it's 0-2. Blanco's fastball velocity certainly there to begin with. We'll talk plenty about him throughout the day. This is a very talented Virginia team. The 0-2. Haskins fouls it back.
We talked to Brian O'Connor about Blanco before the game. He said, yeah, velocity-wise, he's there. He's where he was before, but generally coming into the season, you get 3-4 inter-squad outings to where you can get out there and face your own guys. He can get that. His first outing was game action.
Swing and a miss. A really good breaking ball, and Haskins down on strikes. We'll start the first. Let's take a look at the Stanford coach, Dave Esker. This is already his 8th season at the helm of the Stanford Cardinal, and he was the shortstop on the 1987 national championship team for Stanford. 18 years at Cal, and in a year when they were thinking about dropping their baseball program, had announced they were dropping their baseball program, he helped lead Cal to Omaha as well. First pitch to the senior Timo Becerra, served into right, and right there is James Nunnally for out number 2. Henry Ford is in right field. 2 up, 2 down in the Stanford first. And here is Rintaro Sasaki. 6 feet tall, 275 pounds. Took him a while to hit that first home run this season, but he hit a pair, including a walk-off against Duke 2 weekends ago. Takes a strike, 0-1. This is not a one-trick pony, though, KP. He is a kid that really has a good idea, not just of the strike zone, but how to hit.
I mean, you can tell son of a coach. And the ability to use the entire field with power. He can drive it out at any spot. He probably has the best raw power of anybody on the field right now. There has been some swing and miss this year. There's 22 strikeouts so far for Sasaki, but he's been in the 3-hole since day one.
Outside, it's 2 of them. Stanford last spring. He could have played, but just got acclimated to life in the U.S. and life as a college student. 2-2. Very good student. I mean, he was choosing some of the elite American academic institutions as his spot. We'll talk plenty more about his recruiting, the relationship that he's built with his teammates throughout the afternoon. Drive to left center field. Moving over and making the catch is the center fielder, Teal. And it's a 1-2-3 first for Evan Blanco. We go to the bottom of the first. Stanford and Virginia scoreless. Fans still filing in at Charlottesville at Disherud Park. There's a lacrosse game going on across the street. You see the Virginia Cavaliers are taking the first 2 games of this series. Big reason why the JUCO transfer Chris Arroyo, who has had a nice series so far. Pair of home runs for Arroyo through the first 2 games.
We've talked, I mean, top to bottom for this order has been pretty impressive all weekend, but Arroyo probably been their most complete hitter this year. 2 home runs this weekend. He went out of the stadium yesterday down the right field line.
Some serious power from the left-handed hitter, and on the mound, speaking of power, the powerful sophomore Joey Volchko. He has some of the best stuff in the country. He
does. You're going to see mid-90s fastball from Volchko and a true swing and miss slider. He'll throw a curveball as well. But really, it's those 2 are his best. I think the biggest thing for Volchko, get ahead early, throw strike 1 right away, because that's when he can go to the slider more often. But it's swing and miss in any count. If he gets you in a plus count, a 2-strike count, buries it down and away, it's tough for guys to stay off.
His first ACC start was against North Carolina in a rubber match at Boshemer Stadium in Chapel Hill. And North Carolina ranked 6th in the country at the time. He threw 6 one-hit shutout innings in that one, and that kind of announced that Joey Volchko is ready to take the next step forward. Aiden Teal set to lead things off for Virginia. It'll be Teal, Becker, and Ford against Volchko. Center fielder from New Jersey stands in. And Volchko's first pitch on its way. Teal takes it in. That one clipped our home plate umpire, Thomas Newsom. Is he okay?
Got him in the hand.
Yeah. See Charlie Song checking on him. The rest of the umpire encouraging to come in. Boy, that's a tough way to start your afternoon.
That looked like a first pitch slider. Just threw the daylights out of him. Charlie Song went to try to catch it on the short hop. Thomas Newsom caught all of it. What's that right hand hanging down? Know that hurts a lot. He's probably pretty happy that it hit his right hand in that case. But regardless, not exactly the first pitch you're looking for.
Volchko has tremendous stuff with tremendous movement. I know we'll talk about it a lot throughout the day, but everything is hard. So, and historically, control has been a little bit of an issue for him, although it's been better this year.
Better, but still not great. 13 walks in 23 and a third for Volchko, and stuff is never going to be the issue. Honestly, whether it's now or when he gets into pro ball, there's plenty of stuff to get guys out. I think maybe the one number that's a little bit surprising is the strikeouts. I mean, 24 and 23 and a third is not a giant number. And with Volchko's stuff, I think those numbers will go up. You can see the start against Carolina was outstanding. Last two been a little bit different. Walk number's not terrible, but ultimately it's how far can he take you into game two. Aiden Keenan's ready to go out of the bullpen. He's their best reliever. Stanford has not used him this weekend. They've used 10 arms. Well, now 11 with Volchko, but Keenan hasn't been one of them. So you can stretch Keenan out, but ideally like to wait until 6th or so to get Keenan in there and see how far he can go.
It's been one of the stories with Stanford so far this year is that on paper they have a dominant rotation. Results have not been as consistent overall. Field now ready for the 1-0 from Volchko. 95-mile-an-hour strike.
I would not be surprised if you see Virginia taking a strike fairly early. Teal's absolutely doing that to start the game.
That's the 1-1 to first. Sasaki has it. He'll take it back himself. Leadoff man going to Virginia first. Comes Eric Becker. Becker's had a couple of huge hits in this series. A triple on Thursday night that knocked in a couple of runs. And a big moment as Virginia started to create some distance in that game. And then last night, a home run to the left of dead center field off the Virginia Sports Properties clubhouse. Squares and takes the ball 1-0. You see where he hit it the other way. That was no joke, the home run he hit last night. The 1-0. Strike to Becker. It's 1-1.
They're absolutely taking it. You're bunting for a hit. You're not going to show that early because in that case, Haskins was all the way in. Becker's had a great all-around series.
He slams that one to left center field. It's going to get down and one hop against the bottom of the fence. Eric Becker's good series continues. His third extra base hit in 3 games. And Virginia has a man in scoring position with one out in the first.
Took a fastball just before. Now this one a 96 from Volchko, and Becker pretty comfortable taking it the other way this weekend. Home run to left center yesterday, double in the gap right here to give Virginia's first hit. It's a 1-out double here in the first.
Henry Ford bats, the draft-eligible sophomore, the Charlottesville native, who has seen a little bit of a power outage early this season. And he hits it on the ground to second. It's Jimmy Nadai who will throw him out. 2 outs. Ford was not taken early.
We'll see if Virginia does this, to where if you take it with nobody on base, you get guys on base and you free them up a little bit to swing. But Volchko pretty fastball heavy so far today. First pitch of the game was a slider. Everything after that has been between 95 and 96 miles an hour.
2 outs, man at third for Chris Arroyo. He's been the offensive star in the middle of this lineup for Virginia in the series. A pair of home runs. He leads the club with 7. He takes outside the ball, 1-0. Virginia's power overall has been slow to develop this season. And Arroyo, who homered on Thursday, had not homered before that since Saturday windblown game against Boston College, first weekend of conference play. Now 2-0 to the slugging transfer from Pasco Hernandez State College. Started his collegiate career at Florida. He is a two-way player, although he has not pitched very much this season for Virginia.
That's a slider, folks. 90 miles an hour, 2-0. You can throw that one 2-0, and you can fill the zone up with a fastball. You got a pretty good chance for success.
The 2-1. And count evens at 2-2. Especially if you ask Volchko to throw something, just kind of lob it up there. It wouldn't be like 92.
No, I don't think that's in the mentality either. This is not one where you go out and teach a straight change to.
Swing and a miss. Another nasty one. And Volchko gets out of it.
2-0, will go 3 straight sliders, 2 swings and miss, and he gets Arroyo swinging over the last one. It's a scoreless first on a perfect day in Charlottesville.
Here you see where both of these teams stand in the current ACC standings. Both at 5 and 6. Clemson and Florida State off to great starts. Wake Forest had started 6-0, but has dropped 3 out of 4, including pounded by Virginia Tech and Winston-Salem last night. Important games here. Generally, though, KP, if you're over 500 in the ACC, it is very rare that you miss the tournament. Change up to Somme to start the top of the second from Blanco. And last year, Louisville was 16-14 and didn't make it, in part because they had a pretty weak non-conference schedule. But that's the minimum goal, right, is 15, 16 wins in the ACC.
You win half your games in this league, you should be playing in the postseason. I mean, it's a league that sent 4 teams to Omaha last year. There's plenty that looked the part that can make a run this year. How about yesterday? Virginia goes and run rules Wake in game 1 at Wake. Notre Dame hit 7 home runs, I believe, against Florida State.
With Jamie Arnold, one of the top picks in this upcoming draft, on the mound. That one got away from Ferentz, and Son reaches on a wild pitch strikeout. It's the second time we've seen that happen in this series.
It looks like Blanco has the good changeup today. He threw it first pitch of the at-bat to Sam. He swung through it. I think Brian O'Connor might be asking if this was a foul ball. I think that's the only discussion right here.
Thomas Newsom going to get the rest of this umpiring crew together to see what they saw. This is obviously not a reviewable play, but he can ask for other opinions.
Not quite sure how anybody else can have a better look at a foul ball in a situation like that than the guy behind home plate.
Unsurprisingly, the umpires determined that the call at the plate was correct or defensible.
I didn't see anything change. It's a strange one for Ferentz to miss. I mean, the ball in the dirt is more understandable. That one was catchable. It was almost like he was trying to frame it up to her.
Jimmy Nanai hit a 3-run home run in the first inning yesterday for Stanford, the second baseman from Sydney, Australia. He's third on this team in home runs with half a dozen of them.
Tell you what, he's going to lean on that thing against right-handers unless they show him to do something else. He threw at least 2 to Charlie Somme. He's now thrown the first 2 of this at-bat at Nantai. You're going to see it 79, 80, 81 miles an hour, but it is living just off the outside part of the plate and just down and out of the zone.
Nanai rolls the 0-2 through the left side, and the first 2 have reached for Stanford here in the second.
Same pitch there, but just too good 0-2. I mean, that's the one that you don't, if a guy swings at it, best case scenario, you can just foul it off, but not have the ability to go out and put the barrel on it. Wasn't hit great, but hitting the right spots.
Stanford with the first real threat of this game with 2 on and nobody out, and Brady Reynolds, powerful left-handed hitter from Bakersfield, California. Swings and misses, nothing in 1. 3 hits yesterday for Reynolds, 5 for 8 in this series. Stanford has had good success with runners on base in this series. Early threat here. Count 1-1. Reynolds with a kind of knowing nod there, as if he saw that one pretty well. Takes it to dirt. It's 2-1. Reynolds leads this team in slugging percentage. Second in home runs with 7. The 2-1. Outside. Another good take, and it's 3-1.
Here's your nod again. Didn't miss by much. That's a pitch you're going to get a lot of offers at.
3-1 the count. Reynolds into a fastball count here. The pitch. Line through the left side. It's a base hit. Everybody will move up 90 feet. It's bobbled. And coming home to score is Somm. It's 1-0 Stanford, and the throw gets away from Hansen. And on his way to third is the fired up Nanai. It's 1-0 Stanford. Nunnally with a miscue in left.
Ended up being 2 miscues. Because in this case, Somm is not running. The stop sign's up the entire time. This ball's hit well. You got to freeze just to make sure nobody's going to catch it. And it's just boxed up in left field. Not only trying to be a little bit too quick, crawls up his glove and gets away, and then hurries a throw when you really don't have to. In that spot, the base runner's not going anywhere from second base. Just get it in and freeze everybody. But the game sped up there for a minute for Nunnally. It gets away, and when it does, Nanai goes from second to third.
Reynolds had to stay at first as Drew Dickinson's going to come out. Quick conversation with Walker.
I think this is one of those discussions like, hey, let's just slow everybody down right here. I mean, it's a strikeout to start the inning where the guy reaches first base. And it's 2 balls that find a hole. They're not hammered. 2 good approaches, especially right there by Reynolds to go the other way. But it's not like they're hammering the wall all over the place right now. And sometimes it's just they don't change anything. Like the game will get back to reality here in a minute. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Nunnally there. He was a catcher in high school, so still to some degree learning the outfield. But a couple of miscues early for Virginia, and really they had played a much cleaner game from about the middle of Thursday night through yesterday. First pitch to J.J. Moran, the freshman, swings and misses. It's 0-1. From San Marcos High School in San Diego. Takes inside, 1-1. Getting the start at DH again today after starting yesterday. Just 10 at-bats so far on the season. 3 hits for the youngster out of the lineup. Misses. 2-1. Brandon Larson, serving as the DH, especially against right-handed pitching. A little bit of a change for Stanford and Dave Esker in their lineup here against the lefties that Virginia has thrown the last 2 days. 2-2.
He's probably going to get that one again. A 2-1 changeup down and out of the zone at that time. The freshman couldn't hold up on. Now I think he probably challenged to see if he can hold up on it this time.
Swing and a miss, and that's the first out. 3rd strikeout already for Blanco.
One pitch can change in a bat. This is 2-1 down and out of the zone. The Moran goes after right there and swings through. So now we're back to 2-2. You know you're probably going to get something off speed. The one thing Blanco's done a really good job of so far today is everything is at the bottom of the zone. He went up with a purpose 0-2 early to strike out Haskins. Besides that, he has lived at the bottom.
Ethan Hotbat's getting the start in center field. Squares the bunt, takes a strike. Hot a pair of doubles on Thursday night. Blanco's been ahead of all 8 hitters so far, 0-1. Hot getting the starts in this series because of an injury to center fielder Charlie Bates. Bates, the freshman from Palo Alto, tore thumb ligaments. And that's a good bunt to the right side. Blanco's only play will be to first in the safety squeeze. Nets a run for Stanford. It's 2-0.
It's not always a giveaway, but so often if a guy's got a safety, he's going to move all the way up in the box because you're trying to create more fair territory for the bunt. And it's exactly what Hott did. He showed the safety, took a strike to start, and then this time stays up in the box. So if you peek at it, you know he's probably doing the same thing again. As long as it's not bunted back to the pitcher right there, you're probably going to score a run. Hott does his job, and the Cardinal had another one.
Tatum Marsh will hit. Left fielder is a good series, 4 for 7. He had 3 hits on Thursday night in the opening game. Just going to finish up in the injuries for Stanford. Charlie Bates, who'd been playing center field, could miss about a month after surgery on a thumb ligament. The Cardinal expected to get Court McDonald back next weekend, who might be their most athletic overall player. I mean, he was a tremendous high school basketball and football player.
Which they could use. I mean, in the starting lineup today, there's a grand total of 1 stolen base on the season. Stanford stole 5 bases and is dead last in the ACC in stolen bases and attempts.
Inside, it's 2-1. 9 starters for Stanford today, 1 for 9 in stolen base attempts this year. So Timo Becerra, the only one who's been successful. The 2-1. Rip past the leaping Hansen into left field. It's 3-0 Stanford on the RBI single from Tatum Marsh. The number 9 hitter, the freshman, has had an excellent series, and it continues there.
I would say quietly, Marsh has had an excellent season offensively. The OPS is above 1,000. His on-base percentage is the highest in this entire Stanford lineup. He's been hit 10 times. But right here, this one is up just enough that the freshman can get the barrel to. Luke Hansen lays out, can't get it. And with 2 outs, Brady Reynolds is going on contact right there. 3 runs here in the second for the Cardinal. They had a 5-0 lead early yesterday, and Virginia fought back, but they jump out in front again today.
Trevor Haskins bats. That one bounced back through the middle, a base hit, and the inning continues as Marsh stops at second. Remember, it all started with a strikeout wild pitch. And then the miscue in left field by Nunnally. Both fielding a ball and then throwing one over the head of the third baseman Hansen has helped to exacerbate things, but the Stanford team taking advantage of the opportunities that are being given to them. We were talking to Dave Esker a little bit this morning, KP, about Stanford's need to play cleaner. They also need to take advantage of miscues, and boy, they are doing a great job of that right now. Timo Becerra hits. The senior shortstop takes a strike, 0-1. He and Haskins seem like the kind of guys that as seniors you really need to count on in a game 3 like this, where you need to steal the finale.
Yeah, just kind of quiet down the bus, quiet down the nerves coming in.
In the air to right. And Henry Ford has it, and the inning is over. Stanford scores 3 times. They leave a pair. Through 1.5, they lead Virginia 3-0. How close are some of these college players to the big leagues? Like super close. Wyatt Langford helped lead Florida to the Men's College World Series Finals in 23, then was in the opening day lineup for the Rangers. This year, Cam Smith on the opening day roster for the Astros after helping Florida State to the Men's College World Series in Omaha a year ago. Smith has had an eventful professional career already, as Henry Godbout takes a strike. Drafted in the first round last summer by the Cubs, traded for Kyle Tucker, and then replacing Kyle Tucker. 32 games of the minors to get to the big leagues. That might have been even faster than that man that you saw highlighted there, Ryan Zimmerman, who made it in his first year after being drafted. Henry Godbout will do something similar. The junior with a leadoff single. Speaking of Major League Baseball, the first Sunday night baseball telecast comes your way from Petco Park in San Diego. Fernando Tatis Jr. and the Padres play host to Matt Olson and the Braves, the finale of their 4-game set, 7 Eastern, ESPN, ESPN Deportes, and ESPN radio coverage at 6 with Baseball Tonight, Sunday night countdown. First pitch is a strike to Jacob Ferentz. I know he's not an ACC player, but it was a former college star that had the game-winning home run in that game last night. Jake Cronenworth,
the fighting Michigan Wolverine.
Former two-way player in Michigan. He was an outstanding closer there as well. Jacob Ferentz shares a first name, but that's about it. You know, sometimes
it's a natural transition. I mean, it just makes sense.
It's just not a connection, really.
Here's the 0-2.
It's steady, step off. Ferentz, a preseason All-American, off to a slower start from the power standpoint for Virginia. He transferred in last year from Division III Salisbury, where he won a national championship and was a national runner-up. He smacks that one off Volchko's leg. Becerra still has a play and gets him at first. Good job by the shortstop to stay with it, out number 1.
You know, that's 2 straight really good moves against the Volchko slider. The single up the middle off the bat of Godbout was on a slider. That right there was another slider, and you know, Volchko can get out of the way of this one, which not a lot of time to do. It's probably double play just because they were pinched up the middle and shaded a little bit to the pull side, but instead, that's one you don't mind wearing, honestly. Part of your leg, it hurts a little bit, but shouldn't affect a whole lot. You got it out of it. First college game was at Cal State Fullerton when one Mark Kotze was there. He hit a line drive off of my quadricep that I could feel 18 months later. And I remember right when it happened in my head, I'm like, what in the world am I doing out here? That's the hardest hit ball I've ever seen in my life.
Mark Kotze is on the short list of the greatest college players of all time, now the manager of the A's. But he was, like we were just talking about with Cronenworth, a two-way player at Fullerton, star center fielder and closer there.
I don't need that reminder.
Takes outside.
Opener of the College World Series that year, he came trotting out of center field in the 9th inning to beat us 6-5, and he got the save. Thanks, Mike.
Hey.
Great.
Anything for you, KP? Yeah. Nettles had a go-ahead 2-run double the other night. Series opening win. It's 1-1. You know, if I'm not helping to inflict pain on you, then what's my job? I mean, that's literally what a play-by-play announcer is supposed to do.
Well, then you're darn good at it so far.
We haven't even gotten into the A material yet. You're making it too easy. The 1-1. Gets stopped by Sung. 2-1. Pitches while he was behind the plate on Thursday night. Stanford catcher and cleanup hitter. Good breaking ball there. It's 2-2.
That's a fastball. He'll get around that fastball and it'll cut. That was a 96.
96, you're right.
And sometimes there's a little bit more intentional cut, but rarely, every once in a while, you see a little bit of run, and it's usually on a changeup, but that's 96 and cut. There it is again.
2 outs. Boy, that is power stuff.
I mean, that's big league coming out of the bullpen type stuff right there. If you're 96 with cut, and he threw it right where he wanted to both times, just underneath the barrel of Nunnally. And I know the freshman's played a lot of high-level baseball, but it ain't easy to prepare for that one right there.
Harrison Didowick bats. Didowick, preseason All-American, who has really scuffled and been platooned of late, hitting under 200 on the year. I mean, that's like 96, 97 with cut.
Yeah.
Like, you're talking...
And a little sink.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking like Kenley Jansen, right? Like, that's... Like, there's not... I don't know that Kenley had the sink to it. There's just so much movement on that fastball. It's... Every base hit seems like a miracle. And then he throws a 90-mile-an-hour slider. And we were talking to Thomas Year, the pitching coach for Stanford, before the game. He said, if you see something 94, 95, that's his Vulcan change.
Vulcan two-seamer.
I went through the data today, and I was like, well, that's got to be mislabeled. It's 94, and it says it's a changeup.
Nope.
Nope. Didowick just fouled. 1-2 the count to Didowick. Which will try to post a shutdown inning here. Stanford up 3-0 early. Trying to get the finale of this 3-game series in Charlottesville. Swing and a miss. Back-to-back punch-outs to end the second for Volchko. Rintaro Sasaki coming up. Start the Stanford third. They lead 3-0.
Why did you want to come play college baseball?
ここで単純にここでプレー野球選手としても学生としても次につながるステップになるような人生を送りたいなというふうには今回の決断というのは少し今までにない前例だったので多分驚かれたのもありますしなかなかない機会なので日本人のプライドを持って
Talk about a kid who has perspective on what all of this means. Sasaki likely would have been the #1 player taken in the NPB draft. That's the Nippon Professional Baseball League. But they shoot it to go to college. And we've seen a few players, KP, over the last couple of years. Joe Yama, Rico Nishida, who was at Oregon, who's now in the White Sox system, comes to mind as players that grew up in Japan and came to play stateside. But none of them had the profile that Rintaro does.
No, I mean, he was nationally known. I mean, everybody knew who Sasaki was. And the coverage has continued since he got here. You talked about it when we went and talked to him a couple months ago. Most of the answers were in English, and then when he wanted to go into detail a little bit more, then he would go into Japanese some just to make sure that he could get all of his thoughts out. But when he got here a year ago, he essentially spoke zero English. And that's the reason you brought it up earlier that he didn't play last year. He could have, but he didn't get here until midway through the year last year, and they just had him focus on school and culture and get comfortable being on campus. And then this year have brought him into the baseball side.
They go with a 3-0 lead here. It's now 2-2. It sounds like some of the players who were really instrumental in helping him get acclimated to the roster, Jimmy Nadai, who himself is an international player, and obviously the experience from Australia and him having lived in the States, probably gave him some pretty good perspective, even though there isn't the language barrier that Sasaki had. I mean, the fact that he speaks English as well as he doesn't, you virtually know English, right, when he got here?
Exactly. Yeah, and he's really been appraised, too. I mean, within the clubhouse, the guys love him.
Bounces it back towards the middle. That's the shortstop Becker in the shift who will throw him out. Sasaki 1 for 11 in the series. Virginia's pitching has done a very good job against him.
He's had a few just missed it. I mean, he had one in this game, his first at bat, and he had a couple the opening night. So I don't think he's too far off right now. It's still been a pretty quiet weekend for Rintaro.
Ben Blanco facing Charlie Somm. Catcher reached on a strikeout wild pitch to start the 3-run Stanford second. Bounced the first one foul. It's 0-1. Somm did an interview this fall where when he's asked about why he was a catcher, he said in youth baseball he saw the equipment and he thought it looked cool.
That's as good a reason as any. I gotta wear all that stuff? Yeah, I'll do that.
Little did he know, I think at that point, why he had to wear all that stuff. You see Jacob Ferentz, who understands. Ferentz got beat up pretty good in Thursday night's game. Foul ball off the wrist. 1-2 the count to the right-handed hitting Somm. In the air to right, Ford going back. He's got room on the track, 2 outs. I mean, I'm all for look good, play good, KP, but that kind of takes it to another extreme. Like, that's really accessorizing.
I caught for a couple of years.
Did you?
Yeah, growing up. And then you catch a few too many foul tips, and you're like, this really isn't quite as much fun as everybody says it is. Like the ones that nobody really notices hurt, but they really hurt.
So you're like, yeah, the arm strength might play better on the mound.
Yeah.
Swing and a miss to Jimmy Nadine. So in one, we were talking the other night about catchers, and it was the line, I think it was Steve Savins at West Virginia, who referred to the catching equipment as the tools of intelligence, which is not a phrase that I'd heard. Generally, you hear tools of ignorance with it, but tools of intelligence, there's a lot of credit to the work that catchers do in game planning, and I don't know, maybe the idea that, hey, it's cool to protect yourself with equipment.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a good idea to put them on.
2-1 to Nadine. Be a little more painful game, I think, if you didn't wear the equipment. Didn't look at Ferentz there, the pitch. Called strike. It's 2-2. Nadine a single and a run scored in the second. The 2-2. Ripped foul. That was only foul by about, 10 feet maybe? Definitely at home run distance. The youngster was hoping for an opportunity on that. Crowd filing in still here at Davenport Field on this wonderful, albeit cloudy Saturday. Nadine in the air to deep left center field. That one is long gone. Second homer in as many days for Jimmy Nadine. He's 6 for 10 in the series. And Stanford's up 4-0 in the third.
That's a pretty good move to that one right there. It looked like a slider that comes back in towards the barrel. And for Nadine, who is seemingly seeing everything pretty well right now, look at him stay on this thing. And I think he's sitting off speed, too. And that's been the book with Blanco. He's been pretty off speed heavy, especially against righties. That wasn't even close. I mean, that's a good 40 feet beyond that 370 sign to extend the lead.
Brady Reynolds, who singled the other way. His first trip, an 11-game hit streak for Nadine. Australian-born second baseman who grew up playing rugby. Huge power source. Stanford has led all 3 games of this series. They were up 5-0 yesterday before Virginia came back. They had a 3-2 lead for a good chunk of the early portion on Thursday. Much closer game, where Virginia stretched things out in the middle innings. Stanford made a little bit of a run, but fell 11-8. Trying to snap a 5-game conference losing streak. The 2-1 to Reynolds. 2-2. Called strike 3. Inning over. But Stanford tacks on to the lead with the Nadine solo homer, making it 4-0 Cardinal through 2.5.
For 7 of the year for Jimmy Nadine, second of the weekend. Good offensive start for the Cardinal today, trying to avoid the sweep. They're up 4-0.
Welcome back to the ACC on ESPN. Issue Room Ballpark, Davenport Field, Charlottesville, Virginia. Stanford with an early 4-0 lead as they try to claim the finale in this 3-game set with the hard-throwing Joey Volchko on the mound. First pitch. Luke Hansen dumped into right field, a base hit. Hansen's been on base 8 times in 9 plate appearances in this series now. Number 9 hitter doing his job for Virginia, and he turned the lineup over for Aiden Teal.
That was that same cut fastball 96 right now that gave Virginia so many fits last inning. That time Hansen was sitting waiting for it, took it the other way to get Virginia's leadoff man on and turn his lineup over.
We were talking to Thomas Eager, the pitching coach and recruiting coordinator for Stanford, a little bit about Volchko, and he was saying he's a Central Valley kid. He's from Visalia, California. You know, he pointed out, like, California, big state, right? I don't know if you know that, but it's big.
I've been there.
Yeah, once or twice.
Yeah.
You been to Visalia? Did you play?
I've been to Visalia. Visalia Oaks.
Yeah. They were now they're the Rawhide.
Okay.
I don't think that they play the team from the television show, but Central Valley there is not like the coastal cities.
It's agricultural.
Working class.
It's got more of a Midwestern feel to it, honestly.
And Volchko is a kid that spends the offseason like literally digging ditches, right? And one of the things that Eager loves about him is that there's this kind of mentality, work ethic, and competitive nature to him that gives him a little bit of an edge on top of the stuff. Like, the stuff stands out, right? Like, it's electric, but he's a guy that wants to come at you with a fire and aggressiveness. It was really interesting hearing him talk about him in that way and saying, like, this is what his personality is. You know, he was a good basketball player in high school too. He's a very good athlete. You can see he's got a great athletic frame. But he's a guy that really wants to compete as well. Behind in the count, 3-1 to Teal here. The count now full.
And that's a lot of times the kind of guy that your defense wants to play behind. They feel like he's going to go out there and fight. It'll be interesting to see because Stanford rotationally didn't pitch at grade days 1 and 2 this weekend again. And Volchko's numbers this year haven't been great. But when he's right, he's really good.
Teal down the right field line. That's a fair ball and into the corner. Hansen to third. He'll be held by Kevin McMullen. It's a double for Aiden Teal. And Virginia in business. Second and third. Nobody out in the third.
For how good Volchko's stuff is today, and it's really good. I mean, it's 95 to 97 with cut. The slider's been good. Virginia's taken really good swings. I mean, last inning there were 2 balls that were hit right on the button. This inning's been the exact same thing. Hansen goes the other way to start, and this time Teal works it to a 3-2 count, fires it down the right field line, and Thomas Eager, the pitching coach, will come out for the first time today.
Volchko hasn't walked anybody, but to your point, he's given up 4 base runners already. And now you're getting into the heavy hitters in the Virginia lineup. Becker, who's had a great series. Henry Ford, who Virginia is waiting to take off from a power standpoint, and their leading home run hitter, Chris Arroyo. The next 3 hitters do, and probably their best all-round hitter behind Arroyo is Godbout. So Volchko's going to have his work cut out for him. We're going to get to see that compete factor that Thomas Eager talked about right here.
Because we talked about Stanford, their ideal day today is to go to Aiden Keenan at some point, and Keenan hasn't pitched this weekend. But he's only pitched 14 innings this year, and so the thought that Keenan can come in and go 4 is probably not realistic. You got to see if you can get some more depth out of Volchko before you bridge that gap.
Eric Becker doubled to left his first trip. He fouls the first one back. He had a good, healthy cut at 97. It's 0-1. Virginia came into this series last in the ACC with men in scoring position. They had a very good first 2 days. They hitting over 450 with men on base. Today, 0 for 4. That one rolled back through the middle, past an diving Nanai. It's a 2-run base hit for Eric Becker, and Virginia trims the deficit to 2. It's 4-2 Stanford.
The stories of Virginia's offensive demise are no longer, because the approach today against Volchko, and I know they're still down 2 runs, but it has been outstanding. Becker's first at bat, he laces one to left center for a double. This time takes a slider that maybe stays a little bit up, but still is a pretty good pitch. That's 90 miles an hour. Drives it back up the middle, drives in the first 2, and the Hoos have cut the lead in half.
6 RBIs through these 3 games for Becker. The tying run of the plate is Henry Ford. Ford smokes it into left field, a base hit. Stopping at second is Becker, and the pressure continues from this Virginia offense. And their leading home run hitter, Chris Arroyo, is coming to the plate. Arroyo has 7 of their 23 home runs as a team this season. Go-ahead run with nobody out here in the 3rd. First pitch. Outside, 1-0. Critical moment here for Stanford. Volchko needs an out. Foul back. A little tardy on 96. It's 1-1. Becker at second, Ford at first. Bouncer to first and foul. The count now 1-2 to Arroyo. Mostly that cut fastball and slider. I know he's got a changeup here that's hard. Do you think about it in this spot?
Against a lefty? Yeah, against a lefty, especially in a plus count. I mean, you don't necessarily have to throw it for what would be a called strike right here.
This one has a curveball that comes in at about 88 miles an hour. Again, Volchko doesn't do anything soft. It's all firm. Arroyo lines it into right field, a base hit. Becker to third, and the bases are now loaded with nobody out for Henry Godbout.
That was the changeup, which is crazy to say at 91, but a little bit of fall away. I cannot emphasize enough how good the offensive approach today for Virginia has been, because they're facing a guy that has honestly big league quality stuff, when just pure stuff. Forget location for a minute, but 96 to 98 with cut, mid-90s slider, and a pretty decent changeup, and they're putting some really good swings on it.
Now, arguably their best pure hitter at the plate in Godbout. The first pitch, he takes a strike, 0-1. Godbout, the former Mr. Baseball in Tennessee at the Baylor School. 3-season All-American, a top 50 college player for this draft, and he bounces it to second. Could be 2. Nanai to the bag for 1, on to first, a double play. Becker scores, but 2 huge outs here for Stanford. It's 4-3. Boy, if Volchko can get out of this inning now, that might go down as the biggest pitch he's thrown today.
Yep. Yeah, if there was a time, I mean, that you really need 2 outs with 1 pitch, bases loaded, no outs would be that time. You'll make the trade, 1 run for 2 outs there.
Ferentz bats, tying run at third, and he'll deliver. A 4-run inning for Virginia. Ferentz, the RBI single to things at 4.
That's 6 hits in the inning for Virginia. And none of them are cheap.
But they've used the opposite field. Yep. They've used the middle of the field. They've pulled. They have basically taken what Volchko has given them in terms of the location. It feels like when there's something out over the plate, they go the other way. When there's something that's in, they've been able to turn on. James Nunnally, a strikeout victim, his first trip. Takes inside, 1-0. Nunnally, a very highly touted freshman from the D.C. area. Chops that one to short. Becerra throw him out, and the inning is over. Virginia ties it up with a 4 spot in the third. We'll visit with their head coach, Brian O'Connor, next. ACC baseball from Charlottesville this afternoon. 4 spot for the Virginia offense to tie things up as we head to the 4th. It makes it the perfect time to talk to their head coach, Brian O'Connor. And well, we've just been marveling at your offense today. What are you seeing with the approach against a guy who throws some serious jet?
Yeah, he's got a really good arm and he has a really good cutter. And I just think, you know, after the first time or through the order, we've had a good approach against him up the middle the other way, and guys are determined. That's been our approach all weekend. It's been impressive. You know, each game we've fallen behind and we've, you know, fought back. So it's I love what I'm seeing.
How about what you're seeing on the mound, man? It feels like the trust factor with Blanco is extremely high, and I know he hadn't been there since the beginning of the season, but from your standpoint, what have you seen from him so far?
Well, I like his changeup today, KP. He left a couple up there in the second inning, but he's pitching, you know. He left a slider up 2-2 to Natty the last inning. He put a good swing on the ball, but you know, this is the best that his commands has been, and especially that changeup right there. That's what made him last year, and it's good to see him finding it.
Coach, we appreciate the time. Best of luck this afternoon.
Thanks, gentlemen. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, Brian O'Connor, the head coach of the University of Virginia, 22nd season, which makes me feel old because Oak isn't that old.
No, you're right. You're right. It cannot be overstated, too, just the job that Oak has done. And honestly, Kevin McMullen, who's been here all 22 of those years as his assistant. This ballpark didn't look like this. This program didn't look like this. The postseason history that we know about with Virginia, 7 trips to Omaha, national championship, none of it existed before those two guys got here. And they have built one of the most consistent programs within the ACC and honestly within the country.
Ran down on strikes. Blanco knew it. The leadoff man gone to the Stanford 4th. Take a look at the numbers for the Virginia program with and without. I think he got here, so 2004 would have been his first season, right? So he inherited Joe Kashansky, I think, was the all-ACC star at that point, played a little bit in the big leagues. But he has built this incredible program here.
18 of 21 years in the postseason, 7 times to Omaha. They've been in the postseason 3 times and had never really sniffed Omaha before that.
2015 national championship, with a nearly 60-year drought for the ACC.
We talked about this on Thursday. When they won a national title in 2015, they started 3-6 in the ACC. Not saying this is a team that's going to go win the national championship, but it's been done before.
Through the left side, a base hit for Hott. He's had a good series. His 3rd hit in the 2 games.
You know what? He's done a really good job at filling in for Charlie Bates in center field. I mean, Hott gets on base. It's not a ton of at-bats yet, but the OPS is well in advance of 1,000 and plays a solid center field.
Got a role player here, now getting an extended look. 2-time All-State performer in Arizona at Chaparral High School. Contractually obligated to mention anybody who played in high school in Arizona. Just wanted to point that out. Tatum Marsh, speaking of good series, he is 5 for 8. He knocked in a run in the 3-run Stanford second. right. So, just to finish up what we were talking about with Virginia, that 15 team that won was not the team that was supposed to win. 14 team was supposed to, right, which was the national runner-up. And I think you can make the case that this Virginia team is the most talented that they have had since that 2014 squad. In fact, I tried to make that case a lot in the offseason. When I broached it with Coach O'Connor this winter, he kind of looked at me like, "I'll let you say that."
Yeah, that's one that head coaches probably get a little bit uncomfortable with, whether he agrees with it or not.
Listen, you got to get outside your comfort zone to truly impress, right? But I think I do think that this is a really talented team. And listen, it's a long season. About gets the out at second to the feed off line, and they can get just one. Speaking of national championships, the women are competing for one in basketball right now. Later on ESPN, the women's Sweet 16 continues from Spokane in their regional. Number 3, Oklahoma taking on Paige Buchers at number 2, UConn at 5:30 Eastern, followed by the second semi with K-State, number 1 seed USC. It was so tough to see Juju Watkins go down with the ACL injury, the USC star. They will try and overcome that as they are in the Sweet 16. That was Monday night, their second round game against Mississippi State. I think everybody was kind of dreaming of a regional, well, unless you, I think, are an Oklahoma or K-State fan, that you were dreaming of a regional final with Juju Watkins and Paige Buchers. To short, Becker on the run, throws out Haskins, inning over. We'll talk to Dave Esker, the head coach at Stanford, in a moment. Through 3.5, we're tied at 4. This weekend, the first ever meeting between Stanford and Virginia, now ACC rivals. And joining us now, the head coach of the Stanford Cardinal, Dave Esker, is with us. I got to ask you about Jimmy Nati. He's had a couple of home runs in this series, but listening to him interviewed this winter, he just seems like a really fun personality to have.
Right, it's that accent, right? That accent gets you. He's a killer, but man, that accent makes him, he's a darling, you know. And so he's a great kid. He really is. Works hard, wants to win, you know, really supports his teammates, and just like, he's a great team guy.
Eski, we've talked plenty about Volchko, and honestly, from this standpoint, the stuff is really good today.
Yeah.
But obviously, they've put some pretty good swings on it too. What have you seen from your end?
Yeah, they really have. You know, I give them credit. You know, they put some barrels on them, and they've been really tough with us for 2 strikes even too as well. But you know, this is a big boy league, and so 96, 97 miles an hour. That's great, but if you're not locating it, you just can't throw it over the white middle and expect to have success.
Dave, we appreciate the time. Best of luck today.
Okay, thanks.
Dave Esker, the head coach at Stanford, joining us. Harrison Didewick leads off for Virginia in this 4th game. It's hard to believe that it's been 8 years since Mark Marquez, known by many as 9, retired as the head coach at Stanford. He was your head coach for the Cardinal. He was Dave Esker's head coach for the Cardinal, and Esker was an assistant for him as well. I'm not sure that anybody could have found a more perfect guy to replace him.
No, and you know, he was around Coach Marquez for a long time.
Short. Sarah throws out Didewick. Wow.
Both as a player and a coach, and he still talks to Nine a lot. And I'm sure some's baseball, and Coach Marquez now at Santa Clara, just down the road, that's doing some awesome work for them. But you know, from a program standpoint, it was an awesome transition, because if you had been around the program at all for any period of time, you knew Eski. And you knew exactly what you were getting. You were getting consistency, you're getting somebody that knows the program, you're getting somebody that is universally respected.
First pitch to Luke Hansen, signaled to start the 4-run 3rd inning. It's another good one.
He showed up as a walk-on. He came in as a true walk-on, ended up starting, it was a true walk-on. Came on, ended up starting on the 87 team that won the national championship. Another Central Valley guy, middle of California, which Coach Marquez is too.
18 years at Cal and an Omaha trip there before taking over the Cardinal. 3 straight trips to Omaha. 21, 22, and 23. That was coming off a rough season in 2020 when They were well under 500 in that short year. Last year was a similar season as they played a lot of freshmen. And the hope was they were going to take another step forward. They definitely have the smell of a regional team.
They do. I would agree. Yeah, they've got to get more consistent from a starting rotation standpoint. That hasn't been incredibly consistent really this year. I think that was looked to be a strong point, and it hasn't been quite yet. Look out.
Okay, in the Stanford dugout, it's 2-2. They haven't been that, but much like we've talked about with Virginia a lot this weekend and their offense and how we were waiting for it to get going. Stanford has the talent to get that rotation going. I think it's just surprising the results have been where they are, but I mean, you look at this trio, it's a bit tough play for Haskins. It throws out Hansel 2 outs. But whether it's Volchko today, Matt Scott on Fridays, Christian Lim on Saturdays, that is one of the top, from a talent standpoint, rotations in the country. I mean, those guys played for the college national team. Those guys went to the training camp in Cary last year. They're all really well regarded. It's just,
It all clicked yet.
It hasn't clicked yet, and as Brian O'Connor said to us, it's still March. I mean, for a couple more days, it's still March, but we haven't reached the it gets late early around here portion of the program yet. Aiden Teal takes a strike.
I mean, Lim was their best starter last year.
Yeah.
He was the most consistent as a freshman. Matt Scott's kind of that guy that you say, man, when is it really going to take off and go? Because he was kind of thought to be the next one when he came out of high school at Stanford. And Volchko, the idea has been just wait until he throws strikes. When he throws strikes, now he may be the best out of all of them. He's thrown plenty of strikes today. Just facing what is an offense that is what we thought they'd be at the beginning of the year.
He hasn't walked anybody. We talked about it. Control has been his bugaboo at times. But this has been more pitches in the center of the zone. And Virginia's hitters deserve a lot of credit. Teal ahead in a 2-1 count. Leadoff hitter, younger brother of former Virginia catcher Kyle Teal, rips it just foul over the bag at first.
Charlie Somm kind of struggled the first game with balls in the dirt. There was a fair amount that got to the backstop. I'll tell you this, he's catching 96 to 98, and it looks like he's catching it with a pillow. I mean, when you see a catcher that's that comfortable handling real velocity, and Volchko doesn't throw it straight very often, that gives you even more confidence on the mound.
2-2. Count goes full Teal. 2 outs, nobody on. Last of the fourth. Stanford and Virginia tied at 4. The payoff to Teal. To short. There's Becerra, the sure-handed shortstop, throws him out. And Virginia goes in order in the 4th. To the 5th we go. Stanford and Virginia locked at 4. Here's some of the big storylines we're following coming into today. Notre Dame, that young Irish team, pounding Florida State yesterday with 7 home runs. Jamie Arnold started that game for Florida State, their ace, as the Irish took game 1. Virginia Tech going to Winston-Salem and putting up 9 in the first on Logan Lunsford. And the Demon Deacons, a run rule victory on the road, and a tip of the hat to the great Andy Hall.
Yep.
Georgia Tech ranked 25th in the nation. He announced he will retire at the end of the season. They lost to Clemson yesterday, but that is a series I think everybody is really excited to see how Georgia Tech, as Becerra leads off with the Yellow Jackets line up in the ACC. They haven't played the toughest conference schedule so far, but they always have a good offense. Their pitching looks a lot different. And it was weird yesterday. Mason Teller, ace reliever, got knocked around a little bit.
Which hasn't happened this year. I mean, I think coming into today, I think Patel had the second lowest ERA in the ACC and the best batting average against. So he's been one of the most consistent guys in the league. And you would assume he will be too. We saw Clemson last weekend. Clemson's a potential super regional host team. Clemson.
Taki bats. Rips it under the glove of the dive out into right field, a base hit. Just his second hit of the series, and the first 2 have reached for Stanford.
He may not have a ton of at-bats, but the word is out on Sasaki, and look at this shift. mean, look where Godbout's playing. It's not easy to beat the shift with a ground ball in this situation, and Sasaki does. Hold him on at first. There's a little bit more room under the glove of Godbout right there. And Stanford, after jumping out 4-0, Virginia comes back to tie it at 4. Now 2 back-to-back singles here to start the 5th.
Charlie Song, the cleanup man, the catcher. He is 0 for 10 in the series. KP was throwing a theoretical evaluation at us on Thursday night called Do Theory. Now Song bunts it in the air, and Ferentz with an easy catch. It's out number 1. I guess we know that he's not quite due yet.
You still do.
Oh, you still do, right?
Yes, the Do Theory continues.
It's like it's a real do is half full, do is half empty kind
right.
of look at it, right?
You chose to go half empty right there.
A big first out. And here is Jimmy Nati. O'Connor coming out as we're getting close to Blanco's pitch limit. He's still working his way back. He was slowed in the fall by an elbow issue this spring. In the preseason, he missed 2 weeks because he had an infected wisdom tooth or teeth. And it looks like Brian O'Connor may go get him. We were expecting around 75 to 90 pitches for him. O'Connor hasn't made the signal yet. Generally, he will make the mound visit if there's going to be a change. And he's going to stick with his preseason All-American lefty Blanco here.
That may have been one of those times where you're just asking, how are you feeling? I think the trust factor is high enough with Blanco that you trust what he says back. Drew Kennett was up, and I think he thought he was coming in the game. He walked all the way to the gate in the bullpen, and the gate never swung open right now. Blanco will stay in there.
The equivalent of that meme of the guy sitting on the swing by himself. That's it. It's staring through the door. Pickoff play to second.
That's right. He hasn't pointed yet. Hold on, he didn't point yet. He didn't point yet because he really trusts the guy in the mound. And I think that's the biggest thing is Blanco's going to get more rope than any other starter for Virginia, regardless of the fact that it took him a few weeks to get back on the mound this year. But that's why Brian O'Connor stays, and that's why I don't blame him for making that decision. It makes total sense.
Nati takes it inside. It's 1-0. Nati's had a pair of hits, including a long home run to left center that gave Stanford a 4-0 lead in the 3rd. I have to think, though, part of it, too, with Blanco is you've got to build his pitch count. The last 2 starts have been in the 60s. He was super efficient in 5 innings against Cal. He hit a little bit of a road bump last week against Duke. Duke sweeping the series here, the first time in 118 years that they had swept a series at Virginia.
Well, some of it, too, it could be the guy in the box. I mean, Nati's 2 for 2. One of them went in the pine trees out in left field, and some could be just, okay, approach. What are we going to do right here?
This is the lefty Reynolds on deck. 1-1 to count. Pitch fouled away. It's 1-2. Nati shaking his head as he walked away.
By the way, see the Huskers last night. Huskers knocked
Putting
off Oregon State in the opener.
Yeah.
And if there's one that, I mean, preseason Huskers were thought to be at least top 3rd in the Big Ten, have not had a great start, but now get Oregon State come in and they win the opener.
The 1-2. On the ground to 3rd, could be 2. Hansen to the bag for 1. On to 1st, that's a double play. And Blanco fired up as he heads back into the dugout and gets out of the jam. Halfway through this one, Stanford and Virginia are tied at 4. Welcome back to the ACC on ESPN. Downtown Charlottesville, Virginia. The site of this matchup, nestled into the Blue Ridge Mountains. We got a good one this afternoon. Stanford and Virginia tied at 4. That hair color is natural, KP. I don't know if you knew that. Those kids are not dyeing their hair at
twins.
all.
You see, it was orange. Yeah. It was flip-flop orange and blue.
That's how their parents can tell them apart. First pitch inside. Yeah, Kirk Becker. It's 1-0. There you go. Get out of the way, you and your orange hair. You kids today, I tell you. Becker swings and misses. It's 1-1. Becker double, a single, knocking in a pair. 6 runs knocked in this series. He's had a double, a triple, and a home run. He scored 5 times as well. Shortstop taps it foul. 1-2. Last year, Becker was in a platoon with Luke Hansen at third base, and they were really productive. Griff O'Farrell, the outstanding shortstop from Virginia, was drafted by Baltimore. And so Becker slides to short. Hansen has, until this weekend, scuffled offensively. Becker has been around some strikeouts, one of their better offensive players this year. Swing and a miss. He's down on strikes. That's the first out here in the 5th. The first Sunday night baseball broadcast of the season comes from Petco Park in San Diego. Fernando Tatis Jr. of the Padres hosts Matt Olson of the Braves. It's the finale of a 4-game set, 7 Eastern. Tomorrow night, ESPN, ESPN Deportes, and ESPN Radio with coverage at 6. Baseball tonight, Sunday night countdown. The expected pitching matchup, A.J. Smith-Shawver, the hard-throwing right-hander for Atlanta, against new Padres starter Nick Pivetta, signed as a free agent this winter for the Boston Red Sox. Padres have taken the first 2 in that series. Braves fans are already panicking. Gotta get 2 to 4.
Sounds like a normal fan base. 160 of them left.
There was a great TikTok video last year from a comedian where he was talking about the difference between football and baseball fans. In football, it's like, well, we lost. It's 1 of 17. We'll go get them next week. And baseball, it's 162 games, and every loss is causing you to use words that you would never say in front of your mother.
have no chance.
Here's the 1-2. Ford tries it fouling out of play. It's a long season. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Even in college baseball, it is. It's less of a marathon. It's more like middle distance. Roller to second. Nadai will throw out Ford, 2 outs. So 6 in a row set down for Volchko.
I feel like the midway point through conference is
next
when,
week?
yeah, is when you get to the point to go, okay, you can probably not panic, but have a legitimate amount of concern at that point if you got a long way to go.
I guess it's so that is kind of a moving target, right? As Kevin McMullen's going to use one of the offensive timeouts here to talk to Arroyo. In the ACC, they play 10 conference weekends, but it's spread out over
It's an off weekend.
11 weeks,
Yeah.
right? So there's an off weekend in there. The SEC plays 10 straight weeks, so we're still a couple weeks away from the middle of that conference, the middle of the Sun Belt.
Yes, you're 2
does
weeks.
the same thing, so. And really, and like some of the top teams in the ACC right now, percentage-wise, have played fewer games. Florida State and Clemson have played just 7 conference games to this point, while everybody else is playing their 12th, or most everybody else. Arroyo takes low, ball 1. Arroyo single in the 3rd. Home runs in the first 2 games of this series. In the dirt, oh boy. And that one came up and clipped Thomas Newsom again. The second time there's been a Volchko pitch in the dirt. It's gotten a piece of our home plate umpire. Got him on the right hand the first time.
I think this one missed the mask. I'm afraid he turned his head. That's what gets scary on this. Hits you in the mask out of the dirt. I mean, it's not going to feel good, but you know. Yeah.
You're right, KP. It looks like it got him right on the jaw. Greg Street, the second base umpire. Within that. Checking range of motion here. This will probably be a little bit of a test for Newsom here. Anytime, even if it hits you in the jaw, I think trainers are concerned about a concussion too, but it seems all right. Ooh.
You're just trying to get out of the way right there. It's been a rough physical day. It's actually been, I mean, from balls and strike standpoint, it's been a very good day when I don't play. Thomas Newsom's going to be just fine getting in the car, getting on a plane tonight. I have to put that mask on for a couple days.
You get nice packer, something icy and cold ready for him after this one. 2-0 the count. Tied at 4 in the last of the fifth. The pitch. And it's 3-0 to Arroyo. Wilchko hasn't walked anybody, neither has Blanco. There hasn't been a single free pass in the game, which I realize how dangerous it is as an announcer to say that before a 3-0 pitch. On the ground to first. Oh, nice play by Sasaki. He'll underhand to Volchko covering. And the inning is over. A little change of direction from the big first baseman. We've played 5. Stanford and Virginia tied at 4. Look at the nimble Sasaki. Feeding the pitcher to end the fifth. Evan Blanco has given up 4 runs, just 2 of them earned through 5 innings. We're starting to get close to what we anticipate being his pitch limit. Somewhere between 80 and 90 today would seem likely. The preseason All-American who was slowed early in the season and has moved into that third starter spot, traditionally called the Sunday role. He'll face the left-handed hitting Brady Reynolds. First pitch is fouled back, 0-1. Now, there are a couple of righties coming here, just if we want to play along strategically. You have the freshman Moran next, who he's struck out swinging and looking. I would think that he gets an opportunity maybe to face Moran, and then after that, you're batter to batter, as Reynolds lines that one into right center field, a base hit.
You know, it's interesting, though, and I don't have the splits in front of me. You may, but I would think that when Blanco was going well, he managed to be better against right-handers because the changeup's so good. When the changeup's right, he's going to use it more against right-handers than left-handers. But at this point, it looks like Brian O'Connor's going to make the slow walk out. He did before and left him in, but I think this one will probably be the end of the day for the left-hander.
Blanco with 5+ innings of work. Stanford has the go-ahead run at first with nobody out in the 6th inning. Virginia looking for a home sweep of Stanford. Stanford trying to salvage the finale and snap a 5-game ACC losing streak. Connor has not made the signal as of yet. Attendant waiting at the door yet again. That'll be it. 77 pitches for Evan Blanco. 58 strikes for the preseason All-American. He will leave in a 4-4 game here in the 6th. And we'll watch to see how the crowd reacts. Virginia always waits until the new pitcher reaches the mound before they send the starter off. Walker got a pat on the back there from his head coach, Brian O'Connor. And that's it. An appreciative group of Cavalier fans here in the 6th. We're tied at 4.
Pretty good day for the Virginia left-hander. Evan Blanco ran into some trouble in the second, but Ron O'Connor said when we talked to him earlier in the game, he did really have the changeup going today. It was the key against the right-hander, and this is the key play to get him out of some traffic there in the fifth inning. He fired up. They brought him back out for the sixth, but a leadoff single by Reynolds will run Blanco out of it. Starting to look like the Blanco that we saw last year. In control of his stuff and working deeper into games.
He was much sharper today. The fastball velocity was better. The changeup was really good. Drew Kennan is the new pitcher. The transfer from Dartmouth, where he was Dartmouth Rookie of the Year, went to Maine South High School in suburban Chicago. This is low, 2-0. Kennan's hobbies include playing chess and smoking his own weed. He and I need to have a conversation.
I'm sure where you were going when he started. His hobbies are chess, and when I heard you say smoking, I didn't know where you were going directly after that.
Miranda center. Teal is there to make the catch. Number one.
Good time for a promo.
The UFL season is smoking hot. The season 2 kickoff weekend closes tomorrow afternoon with a doubleheader on ESPN and ESPN Plus. It starts at noon with the Michigan Panthers and Memphis Showboats, followed by the defending champion Birmingham Stallions and DC Defenders in our nation's capital. Ethan Hott follows up the smoking conversation by lining one to right. And Ford is there for out number 2.
Took a good breaking ball from Kennett that I would assume he's going to lean on pretty good that time. First pitch breaking ball that Hott had a pretty good move too, but 2 quick outs for the right-hander since coming out of the bullpen.
I'll bring up Tatum March, who has a hit today. And 5 of them in the series. The number 9 hitter, as JP mentioned earlier, actually leads this team in on-base percentage. Good way to get your offense rolling is to have your number 9 hitter constantly be on base. Now, the story for Stanford in this has been the bottom of the lineup doing damage, but again today, the top 4 hitters have 3 singles. They just have not provided a ton of offense. It gets away from Ferentz, but not far enough for the runner to advance. Reynolds has to hold on. I think most weekends, Dave Esper would be thrilled to have this much production at the bottom of the order, knowing that his top 4 guys were going to bash, but it just has not been the case. Virginia pitching has done an excellent job against Haskins, Becerra, Sasaki, and Sloan. Get it behind 2-0. It's a strike, it's 2-1.
And remember, Stanford should get Court McDonald back next week, or at least they think he'll be back. And Charlie Bates probably another 2 to 3 weeks out with a thumb injury.
I thought about a month. He was injured in the Cal series. He planted his gloves, pitched in the dirt, a delayed run by Reynolds, and he is out at second. Godbout tumbling over after the tag. And Ferentz, with Reynolds not breaking right away, guns him down to end the 6th.
Yeah, Reynolds right there is just reading dirt ball, but the difference was Ferentz fielded it cleanly, good throw, and enough that Godbout could field it, erases Reynolds, and keeps it tied.
Tie game as we start the bottom of the 6th. Stanford had a 4-0 lead after the Jimmy Nadai home run in the 3rd. Virginia with 4 in the bottom of the 3rd to tie it. In the first 2 games of the series, Virginia has had a hit out of every spot in the lineup. And you saw there 7 of the 9 hitters today have at least 1 safety, including the man at the plate now, Henry Godbout. It's a perfect day for the kids at the ballpark.
Each of the first 2 days for Virginia, everybody in the lineup.
That's what Ron O'Connor said post-game yesterday. Yeah, it's incredible. Every spot in the lineup. had at least one hit.
I'd say that's holding velocity, by the way. Bumping 97 to 6th right there with cut.
I'm going to go on a limb and say that this Volchko guy might be pretty good. Chopper foul. So one of the questions that I think we have with Stanford, Matt Scott is a really talented pitcher who has been the Friday starter, the opening game of conference series for Stanford. But he's scuffled the last few weeks. This is a Saturday game, right, instead of your traditional Sunday. It makes the week a little bit longer for Stanford. Is there the possibility that Volchko could move into that Friday role?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it just takes one day of rest off than what's normal. I think there's a definite possibility.
Or do you think about going to Christian Lim on Friday and Scott to Sunday if you make that change since Lim went yesterday?
After seeing all three of their guys and seeing them a couple times this year, this is the stuff that I want to open a series. Now, the question is Volchko consistently going to throw enough strikes? Well, if he throws the amount of strikes he did tonight, that's what game one of a series stuff looks like.
Chopper over the mound. Give me a tough play for Nada. He throws on the run, not in time. How about spiking the helmet? He's fired up as he leads off with an infield single.
I don't know if I've ever seen that one. I've seen it after you score. I've seen it when you get mad. I have a feeling we're going to see this one a couple more times. So the old Chris Burke line. The first time that Usain Bolt dives across the finish line, I'll understand why guys dive at first base. I don't know if it necessarily gets you there quicker, but
this might get overturned.
Well, I'm going to tell you why it may get overturned.
He didn't touch the green base.
Yes.
Yeah, he touched the. So we should explain. This is a new rule in college baseball this year. They have the safety base, and so the runner. There are some issues with this, but for the ease of description, as long as the play is in front of the runner, they have to touch the green base. If it were, say, a strikeout and the throw is coming from behind them, they could touch the white and the fielder could go to the outside. But the fielder has to be on the white and the runner has to touch the green base, and I don't think that's the case here.
I would agree. And again, I mean, the whole intent is, safety first and foremost, but also to take away the potential runner interference on a ball right out at first base. And I think for that reason, it's a very good rule. But I do think it's going to get overturned. Listen.
Well, KP, look again. Like the throw may have beaten him, but look where that right hand is. It looks like it's actually to the green base before his left hand touches the white, at least from that other angle.
The left hand touches the white first, for sure.
There it does. Okay, you're right. From that other
I
angle.
don't know that the right hand ever touched the green base. I think this one's going to be overturned. And you're sitting at home going, well, hold on, he beat the throw. You're right. He did. And before this year, this would have been a really quick review. And he would have been safe. I think he'll be out in this case, and I think, given what the rules are, and I do like the rules, I think this is a good. I know it looks a little bit different, weird, not the way it's always been. Who cares? I think it makes sense. But in this case, I do think they'll overturn it and call him out.
Most places are going with the green base. I believe they can use orange too.
I think so. Yeah, but
do you have a preference on color?
I don't care.
It's Virginia. Shouldn't they have an orange base?
I guess. We thought that with Clemson, and they had a green base, too. So, there's a...
Tennessee uses orange.
That would make sense. Call O'Connor after the game. I'm sure that's high on his care list.
That's something that he's going to want me to call him about. Hey, Oak, just
been thinking about this. I couldn't sleep last night.
You ever think about color coordinating the safety base better?
Stay with me for a minute. Have you ever considered...
All about the marketing. I'll guarantee you, I'm going to be in Clemson in 2 weeks. If I mention it to Backett, you'll change it out in a heartbeat. You'll be like, oh, yeah.
By the way, did you see the behind home plate in like the second or third inning? Talk about all about the marketing, where it was all about the bacon. It was one of the greatest ads ever behind home plate.
I did not.
You just paint that on every wall.
So far, waiting to see who's going to come through when the bacon's on the table today.
Look at that. Look at what you're doing there.
Umpires are going to all gather together Greg Street is in the foreground there, a second base umpire, crew chief. He is leading this discussion. And I think it has to be what you're talking about, KP, as to whether or not Godbout touching the white base first.
I guess I just don't understand what the discussion is. I mean, the left hand definitely hit the white part of the base. The left hand was definitely there ahead of the throw. The throw was there ahead of anything touching the green base.
Runner is out.
I mean, it's the right call. And I know it's weird and it's different in the game this year than it's been previously, but the rule was properly adjudicated. Is that the right use of adjudicated right there?
Close enough.
We're going to go with adjudication here. That's the right call. Yes, he beat it, but he didn't beat it to the base that you need to touch first. That is the rule.
Greg Street now giving an explanation to Brian O'Connor.
And again, you were talking about it. I mean, this is unlike the traditional play on the infield, the play that's in front of you. If it's a ball in a gap, you're fine.
See the rule there. So the drop third strike is where it's a little different, right? Is that with that play being behind you, because the catcher has to ask the fielder to either be inside the foul line or outside the foul line for his throw, that's where it changes. So if a fielder were to set up in foul territory, then you run to the inside part of the base.
If the play forces you to go the other way, because sometimes the throw may go the opposite way. They may try to throw it inside and go outside, but that's where there's freedom.
Ground to the fielder,
correct,
essentially. Jacob Ferentz hits. After all of that, we're still tied at 4. It wasn't much of an argument that Brian O'Connor put up. I don't know that there's much that he could. Godbout was confused by it.
I think you want the explanation just to make sure that's what it was. And you're not excited about it, but ultimately it's the right call.
Ferentz into center field, hot on the run. He can't get there. It'll one hop over the fence. An automatic double for Ferentz with 1 out in the 6th. And Virginia now has the go-ahead run in scoring position, in that overturn call looms large now.
Ferentz, a guy that hit 17 home runs last year. I mean, it's real juice. And a hot playing, maybe, I mean, if Ferentz was on a heater, I don't know if you're playing as shallow as he was. I'm not sure if you're going to get it anyway, but shaded a little bit to the pull side, so he's got to go even further. But a one-hopper out to almost dead central right there off the bat of Ferentz. We will see if Stanford goes to the bullpen right here for Volchko, who had a tough third when Virginia had 6 hits and really barreled about everything else up. Since then, it's been good until that swing by Ferentz right there.
Aiden Keenan getting loose. Ace reliever for Stanford. Seeger has not made the signal yet, the pitching coach for Stanford. Much time as possible. I have to think that this means that he's going to go to the bullpen here. It's Thomas Deucer, our home plate umpire, coming out. No, he is going to stick with Volchko. All right. Well, the right-hander has certainly thrown the ball well enough. He's only at 81 pitches. It's not like pitch count is a major issue. And down at the bottom of the lineup, he's going to stick with the competitor. You could tell in our conversation today how much Eager both likes and respects Volchko.
Yeah, and he's handled not only so far, but he struck him out the first time with 2 cutters at 96 in on his hands. Got him to ground out the last time.
Go ahead, run at second. Bottom of the 6th. First pitch to Nunnally outside. It's 1-0. Nunnally, a freshman, and the go-ahead 2-run double on Thursday night in Virginia's win in the opener. Fouled away. It's 1-1. He's tardy on 96.
And I think And still a 96. I mean, again, he's carrying velocity. And I think that swing right there, I'd be surprised if they go off speed at all right here. And given the first at bat, that swing right there, if that fastball has the normal cut on it, you want to live inside with it.
In the dirt, it sneaks away from Psalm, but not far enough for Ferentz to advance. In the air to center. Hott will get behind it. Ferentz tags. That's out number 2. And catcher a hold at second. So a second out and a big one there. And that'll bring up Harrison Didowick. Instead of Didowick, a pinch hitter. So Didowick, the preseason All-American, who was a draft-eligible sophomore and didn't sign, a second-team All-ACC selection last year, has just 1 home run after 23 last season, and here, a pinch hitter. This is Sean James, who had 3 hits yesterday in the DH spot. Freshman from Myrtle Beach. Didowick was 0 for 2. So James in a big spot here. First pitch to the right-handed hitter, swing and a miss. It's 0-1. Interesting decision here.
Yeah, Brian O'Connor was really high on James when we talked to him earlier this week, and I know it's fairly limited as far as at bats this year, but the numbers for the freshman have been very good.
Fouled away, it's 0-2. He started against the lefty Christian Lim yesterday. As I mentioned, had a 3-hit game. Let's see what he's done in limited duty so far this year. As you look at Didowick, it has just been a battle for him this season. A really talented player who has just scuffled. James fouls it away again. Ferentz, he's the go-ahead run. The 0-2. Tap foul at the plate. James putting up a fight here with 2 strikes.
That was a better slider there too. The 0-2 previous flattened out a little bit, stayed in the middle of the zone. That was a better one. Now I think if Volchko 0-2, not a bad time to bury one and really trust Charlie Son behind the plate to keep it in front.
4-4 the score, bottom 6. Virginia looking for the sweep of Stanford this weekend. Fouled away. You were calling for that. The high fastball, and James covered it again.
Yeah, you can see Som set up right there. You see catcher setting up top of the zone. The only thing he throws is a fastball. That went a 98. Change eye angle right there. Again, a good time if you want to try to go slider down and away. Let's just chase one up now. Really chase one down and out of the zone.
Volchko set. The 0-2. In the dirt, it gets away from Som, and Ferentz will make third. A wild pitch. Remember, Virginia was able to capitalize on 3 wild pitches on Thursday night. In fact, it was Ferentz who reached on a strikeout wild pitch and then went to third later in that inning. He scored the tying run in Virginia's comeback win. So now the go-ahead run 90 feet away, albeit with 2 outs. 1-2. Play outside, it's to the screen. It comes back to Som. He won't have a play. Virginia takes the lead.
could do. I mean, this one's a good foot and a half outside out in front of the plate, and there's no chance you can try to block it. The only thing you do is throw that glove out there and see if it happens to hit the middle of it. So back-to-back balls that are breaking balls in the dirt, trying to get a swing and miss, and it ends up 2 wild pitches to give Virginia the lead.
And James down on strikes. The inning is over. Virginia gets the lead on the 2 wild pitches. We head to the 7th, 5-4 Virginia. Virginia's just taken the lead on a 2-out wild pitch that scored Jacob Ferentz. They are looking for a sweep of Stanford, and this is the first of our upcoming games on ESPN2. KP will be at a couple of these. A&M and Tennessee, the #1 team to open the season against the #1 team in the country now. You got a great Big 12 rivalry. It still feels weird to say with Arizona and Arizona State at Phoenix Muni. And you'll be at the Florida State rivalry, always a great game, too. So a bunch of games coming up on ESPN2, starting with LSU and Oklahoma. Actually, starting with us. We're the opening act for that. Tatum Marsh with a base hit. 2 more hits today for the #9 hitter.
Reach based all 3 times.
And he is, I'll tell you what, KP, this is kind of the moment for Stanford now. They're down a run. We talked about it at the outset. The bottom of their order has been really good in this series. And it's not like they haven't scored runs. I mean, they've scored 15 runs over the first 2 games. But the top 4 hitters have been relatively quiet. Haskins didn't have a home run yesterday. He leads this team in homers, and he had to count 1-0. This starts to feel like a big moment here in the 7th inning for Stanford if they're going to take this finale and snap this 5-game conference losing streak. A strike, and it's 1-1. And one thing to keep in mind, as KP mentioned at the outset, this Stanford lineup has just 1 stolen base in it. In fact, Marsh at first is 0 for 3. So if you're looking for movement, it probably is more hit and run than stolen base attempts.
Yeah, it would be with action.
Luft's going, and there's a grounder to short and into the center field, a base hit. Becker couldn't get there, and the first 2 have reached for Stanford in the 7th as they're down a run.
That's absolutely a hit and run. And a lot of it was because of the way the defense was setting up right there, too. You got Arroyo holding the guy on first base. Then you got Gap out pitched up the middle. So if you're going to go the other way with a ground ball, you probably have a pretty good chance for it to get there. At the end of the day, just hit it on the ground somewhere. And Haskins does that, drives it up the middle. Now Stanford with their first 2 on here in the 7th, down 1.
And a guy who handles the bat very well, and Timo Becerra, he's got a base hit. The senior shortstop. Corners pinched in for him, expecting him to bunt. He squares and bunts it foul. Becerra, who is sophomore year, DH for a good chunk of the season. By the time they got to Omaha, Becerra was their starting shortstop. He is one of the leaders on this team, a first-generation college student. You can only imagine how proud his parents are. They're not only a first-generation college student, but to do it at one of the premier academic institutions in the country. He squares the bunt again and takes high. It's 1-1.
So the lefty Matt Lanzendorfer up and throwing right now. Went 2 1/3 through 41 pitches in the opener of this series on Thursday. And with Sasaki on deck, you would think that really regardless of what happens right here, Brian O'Connor said it before the game, that we'll see Lanzendorfer in a big spot. It's probably next.
2-1. There's a look at Rintaro Sasaki, the slugging freshman. He has a base hit today. Just a pair of singles in this series. 5-4 Virginia, top 7. Becerra bunts, and it bounced up and hit him in the face. Ooh, it's 2-2. Hopefully it caught more helmet than it did his face, but 2-2 the count. Still bunting with 2 strikes and gets it down this time. Kennan bobbles it, and everybody's going to be safe. A little awkward coming off the mound, KP, and it will look like that may have affected it.
I think there was a split second, and it shouldn't have been on this case because his third baseman, Hansen, was charging that. I think there may have been a split second in Kennan's mind where he was thinking about going to third, and the footwork is just kind of all over the place right there. That takes off running to first before the ball gets in his glove, and in that spot they're trying to – Stanford's trying to hand it out. It was enough. It was going to advance the base runners regardless right there, but Kennan can't handle it. Cardinal now with the bases loaded, nobody out, and I think Virginia will go to Lansendorfer right here.
Brian O'Connor on his way out, the Virginia head coach. He has not signaled as of yet, but it would make sense with the powerful Sasaki at the plate. Oh, there's a couple of righties behind him in Som and Nadai. Lansendorfer certainly thinks he's coming into the game. And there's the move to the bullpen. Lansendorfer will enter and inherit a mess. Bases loaded, nobody out. Virginia clinging to a 1-run lead here in the top of the 7th.
Rintaro Sasaki, Stanford University. I'm from Iwate of Japan. I play for my dad at Hanamaki Higashi High School. I set a Japanese high school record for career home runs. I came to Stanford to play Omaha.
And now Rintaro will hit with the bases loaded in the top of the 7th inning. He's been good against lefties this year. He has hit for decent power against lefties. 4 home runs on the season for the freshman. But it's been pretty quiet for him in this series, just 2 for 12, and he will face left-hander Matt Lansendorfer from Misericordia, transfer from the Division III school. You can see how successful he's been against lefties this year. 105 on base percentage. Huge spot here. Game on the bases. First pitch, swing and a miss. That's the spot where it seems like there's a little bit of a hole for Sasaki as above his hands.
And he's been chasing too.
Yep.
But that's the fastball he's been going after. For Lansendorfer, the fastball's good, the breaking ball's his best. It's a big sweeping breaking ball that in his case would move away from Sasaki.
Upstairs, it's 1-1. As KP mentioned earlier, Lansendorfer pitched the last 2 1/3 in Thursday night's win for Virginia, throwing more than 40 pitches. So he may not be able to finish the game from here, but he is their fireman. Swinging a foul tip. It's 1-2. It's been all fastballs so far from the lefty. Do you chance going to the breaking ball and making a mistake, or do you try and challenge it with velocity above the zone?
Well, if you go to the breaking ball, the mistake has to be away. You got to make sure that if you're going to miss, it's something that's off the plate.
The 1-2 outside. 2-2. Went back to the fastball again. So 4 straight heaters to Sasaki. Stanford down a run with the bases loaded in the top of the 7th inning. The 2-2 outside, and the count is full. Virginia fans wanted that one, but that pitch looked away. And now a 3-2 pitch to Sasaki. Outside, ball 4, and the game is tied. Bases loaded walk for Rintaro. And that is the first free pass issued today, and it brings up Charlie Som. Som 0 for 11 in the series. He is due. The cleanup hitter for Stanford. Waits, first pitch, swing and a miss. 0-1. It's that breaking ball you were talking about.
There it is. I mean, he went 6 pitches against Sasaki, didn't throw it once, and then bases loaded, still nobody out. Starts Charlie Salm off with a good one right there.
In the dirt, it hit him. It hit his back foot. And Stanford takes the lead on the hit by pitch. 6-5 Cardinal.
We got a little bit of everything in this inning. A couple singles to lead it off in the air on the bunt attempt. And remember, Charlie Salm doesn't have to move right here. He just can't move into it. That right foot stays right where it was, knowing he's probably going to get clipped. So a bases loaded walk and a bases loaded hit by pitch gives Stanford the lead back.
And there's Jimmy Nadai, who homered back in the third. First pitch inside, 1-0. Stanford has not had much distance from Virginia late in the game. They've had leads early. Ferentz going to come out to talk here with the lefty Lansdorf. This was back in the third inning. Jimmy Nadai, who hit a 3-run home run last night, did this.
A little slider that just works back into the barrel, and Jimmy Nadai hammered this one too. Holding their hands up in the bleachers out beyond left field. That sailed well beyond them. That solo shot in the third, at least at the time, gave Stanford a 4-0 lead.
6 hits and a couple of home runs for the Australian-born second baseman. And now he digs back in after the conference is over. 1-0 the count. Takes a strike. 1-1. Lansdorf are not afraid to crowd right-handed hitters with that fastball. On the ground to short, this could be 2. A run will score on the 6-4-3 double play. And it's 7-5 Stanford, but there's now 2 outs. Gladly trade the run for 2 outs if you're Virginia, hoping the offense can keep doing what it's done in this series.
We saw the same thing with Volchko earlier. The bases loaded. Virginia's got some offensive momentum that the double play kind of changed, even though a run scored on it. Changed the course of the inning. Virginia just needed something positive there, and they get 2 outs on 1 pitch.
Brady Reynolds bats. He had a couple of hits off the lefty Blanco. A single to left and a single to right that ended the starter Evan Blanco's day. 7-5 Stanford. They played with 3 here in the 7th. Reynolds fouls it off. Reynolds has power. As he waits and he takes high, it's 2-1. I love the confidence that Reynolds hits with. It just, he looks like he's in control of every at-bat. He hammers that one to right, but right at Ford, and the inning is over. Stanford scores 3 times, though, to take the lead as we stretch in Charlottesville. They lead Virginia 7-5.
Pretty good day for Joey Volchko. When Stanford needed a good one on the mound today, too, the right-hander, his hardest pitch of the day was his final pitch of the day at 99, but lived 95 to 97 the entire day. The slider was good, but the fastball was really the best today for Volchko. Gave up 4 in the third. With Virginia, put some really good swings on it, but kind of battled through after that. Does give up the 9 hits. The biggest number on that for Volchko, given his history, is the 0 walks. He threw a ton of strikes today, higher percentage than he generally does. And the offensive approach from Virginia I thought was outstanding, but Volchko was giving Stanford a chance to win and leaves with the lead.
Aiden Keenan is on out of the Stanford bullpen. This couldn't have been drawn up any better for Dave Esker and his bunch as he starts. Luke Hansen with a strike. Keenan, their relief ace. The sophomore, former perfect game All-American. And look at those numbers. An impressive season. Nothing at 2. That's just 4 hits allowed this year.
He's been their best out of the bullpen. And talking to Thomas Eager, the pitching coach for Stanford before the game, this was the ideal situation. Go Volchko to Keenan, see if he can bring you home the rest of the way. If not, we'll figure it out.
Hansen, who's been on base a ton in this series, takes outside. It's 1-2. He has been on base 8 times in 10 plate appearances. The catalyst for this suddenly resurgent Virginia offense. They find themselves down a pair in the 7th. Keenan's 1-2. Outside, it's 2-2. You see Thomas Eager, the Stanford pitching coach and recruiting coordinator, does a terrific job on the recruiting trail. Strikes me as a really strong relationship builder. 2-2. And the count's full to Hansen.
Thomas has been great, man. He's been there since day one with David Esker. Central California guy who's talking about enjoying recruiting guys like Volchko in part because he grew up in that area, but he's been consistently a part of the staff since David Esker got there.
3-2 down low, and the leadoff man aboard for Virginia in the 7th. Coming up later on ESPN, the Women's Sweet 16 continues. Action from the Spokane Regional with number 3 seed Oklahoma taking on Peyton Bukers and number 2 UConn at 5:30 Eastern. Followed by the second semi at 8 with number 5 K-State squaring off against number 1 seed USC. That's at 8. USC without their superstar Juju Watkins, who tore an ACL in their round 2 victory over Mississippi State. She is done for the year. We'll see whether or not the Lady Trojans can continue their run to the Final Four. After Keenan misses, he's gotten ahead of Hansen 0-2. The last 5 have missed. Som's going to gather everybody on the mound.
They've all missed at about the same spot, too. Fastballs that are down and out of the zone. For Keenan, that walk is the first today for Stanford pitchers. Volchko didn't walk anybody.
Now, you were talking about the relationship there. You saw with the leadership there.
Like that.
Just getting into his sophomore's face a little bit.
It's all right. There's times for very direct conversations between a catcher and a pitcher. There's times you want to go out and put your armor on them, and there's times when want to jump a little bit. That's probably a good one for somebody to get in your face.
Yeah, good captain, bad captain. There's just Haskins being like, all right, we got it. Aiden Teal, leadoff man for Virginia, takes low. It's 2-0. You were talking about Thomas Eager's relationship with Joey Volchko as Central California guy. He compared Keenan and his competitiveness to Volchko. He said, though he'd like to do it with a little bit more swagger. That one misses, and they count now 3-0 to Teal. Teal the tying run at the plate. Virginia down a pair in the bottom of the 7th. Keenan steps off. Sophomore right-hander trying to regather things. Fires in a strike. 3-1. Teal to center, Hot moves over and makes the catch for out number 1. Good jump by Hot on that one.
Yeah, good positioning too. He was playing in a little bit, shaded a little bit more to the other side. That's important right there for the sophomore on the mound. He goes 7 straight balls. Get 3-0 to Aiden Teal, who's handled the bat well the entire weekend, then come back and figure out a way to get it out.
Now here's Becker, who's been an extra base machine in this series, including a home run yesterday. I was going to say, on Thursday night, we saw Virginia hit against the outfield positioning a fair amount. And in fact, there were 2 balls, one to the left and one to the right of Hott in center field that ended up going for extra bases because the hitters did not do what was on the spray chart. They really have positioned Hott way over to left center. That could be 2. Becerra will take it to the bag for 1. On to first. It's a double play. And Keenan gets out of the jam. We head to the 8th. Stanford leading Virginia 7-5 as they try to steal the finale. Welcome back to the ACC on ESPN. Disharoon Park, Davenport Field. Charlottesville, Virginia, Stanford with a big comeback in the 7th inning. A bases loaded walk, hit by pitch, and then a double play. Cash in 3 runs to get the lead on Virginia as they try to salvage the finale of the series. The first ever meeting between these 2 storied programs. It's hard to believe that in all the times that both of them have been to Omaha, they have never met.
Yeah, we were looking at the notes going into this. That one shocked me. I didn't realize that this would be the first. You could see the run that Virginia's had as of late. Stanford there at 21, 22, and 23. Now they'll face a different arm. I think you bring Lansendorfer in right there, and if he breezes through it, he probably stays, and you see how long he can go, but didn't exactly do that, so they'll go to the right-hander, Alex Marcus.
Transfer from William and Mary. Started his collegiate career at Roanoke College. William and Mary had some big arms the last several years. Last year, 46 strikeouts and 42 2/3 innings. He's been used sparingly so far this season. But his last Gorman pitch was 95, so I think he can bring it. That's how the kids say it, right?
My kids don't really talk to me very much, so I don't know how the kids are saying it right
And
now.
I wasn't expecting us to go through father therapy here today, but I mean, I guess we've got time. J.J. Moran, freshman, will lead things off.
Plenty of time in between pitches.
And how does that make you feel, KP? First pitch to the right-handed hitting DH, rolled to third, charging Hansen will throw him out. Ooh, Royal just able to keep the bag on that. Tomorrow night, it's the first Sunday night baseball game of the season. It comes to you from Petco Park in San Diego, where Fernando Tatis Jr. and the Padres play host to Matt Olson and the Braves. The finale of a 4-game set. 7 Eastern, ESPN, ESPN Deportes, ESPN Radio. Coverage begins 6 o'clock Eastern. Baseball tonight, Sunday night countdown. Just missed, 1-0.
97. That's the one where you can hear the seams go by. It sounds like a bumblebee. Not exactly the sound that you want to hear.
That was a loud noise off the backstop. Now at 95 is a strike. It's 1-1. Ethan Hott. A hit. And a sacrifice bunt in 3 trips. He swings through that high breaking ball. It's 1-2. 2-2 now to Hott. You can certainly see if Marcus can control the strike zone at all, this would be a potentially impactful arm.
I mean, I know that we talk about this a fair amount with velocity, but
Hammered foul. That was a hanging breaking ball.
Marcus is a guy that isn't one of their top choices out of the bullpen, but yet he comes in throwing 97. I mean, this is 25 years ago, but when I got drafted, there was maybe 3 guys in the country, maybe, that threw 97 miles an hour. We've seen 2 today.
And that seems like a low total.
Yeah, that's crazy.
2-2. Breaking ball fouled away again. But I will say his fastball looks different. It's angrier, right? Like you can kind of see it on TV or watching it. I'd be interested to dive a little further into the data on it. But
angrier, I like that description.
2-2 in the dirt.
There's a little hitch in there too, and it doesn't look like it's going to be easy to pick up. Hides it behind his hip just a tick longer.
And a good take that time from Hunt. He's on base for a second time today. Well, Daniel Sweeney had been the pitching coach at William & Mary. He left to go to Delaware. Mike McCray left William & Mary as well. Was let go after last season. But one of the things that the Tribe had really focused on was fastballs, and specifically those kind of carry four-seamers. And they had some pretty impressive strikeout numbers in the raw stuff in the group. So you can see both why Marcus was somebody that they had targeted out of Roanoke College, and why Virginia was interested in him, right? Like this is, I mean, all of this makes sense. He's an intriguing arm. Tatum Marsh has had a great series out of the 9. 2 more hits today for him. 6 overall in the 3 games. Stanford with a 7-5 lead here at the top of the 8th. Marsh squares the bunt. It gets away from Ferentz, but a late read at first. Hot smartly holds on.
He does there, but that's also one where on that secondary you got to be on that front foot and read the ball away. That one's a little bit tougher for a base runner because when it goes directly back, you can't tell depth as much. If it goes side to side, it's easier to tell depth, how far away it is from the catcher. Straight back from that angle, sometimes a little bit tougher to tell, but good to see. You don't get the right jump, you got to go back. But if he did right there, he's standing on second base.
I almost wonder if that little fake running start that he did kind of stopped his momentum, because then he stops it after a few steps, and then it has to be a little difficult to restart there.
Yeah, which I don't know why you're doing that on a bunt. I mean, on a bunt, a fake steal has its place, but not necessarily when you know that it has potentially going to lay a bunt down.
3-0 the count. Strike, it's 3-1. Took something off it. 3-1 the count to Marsh. Runner goes. Pitches a strike. The throw by Ferentz is not in time. It's a stolen base. Just the 6th of the year for Stanford. They remain in scoring position.
Ethan Hunt didn't have a stolen base attempt before that right there. But 3-1 taking a chance that you're getting a walk, a ball put into play, or even if you get a jump right there on a called strike, a chance to steal the bag, and Ethan Hunt did just that.
2-time All-State performers in Arizona. You can never count them out.
Once again.
3-2. Upstairs, ball 4. So Marsh reaches back-to-back walks by Marcus, and now the lineup turns over for Haskins. And now you start to get the feeling that there's an opportunity for Stanford to bust this open. The bottom of the lineup set things up for the top. It was a little bit unconventional how they got their 3 runs in the 7th. But Haskins today has a pair of hits. He homered yesterday. He leads the team with 8 homers. The senior waits, and he swings and misses 0-1. Haskins has had some big moments in his Stanford career, including a walk-off regional winning base hit against Texas State in 2022. The 0-1. 0-2. How did Marsh get their leads? The pitch. Tried to hold up. He did. 1-2 the count. Fouled away. Tardy on that breaking ball. It had a lot of the plate. The 1-2. Bounce to short. That could be two. Becker to Godbout to first. Inning over. Through 7.5, Stanford leads Virginia 7-5 in the finale of this three-game set. Chris Arroyo leads this Virginia team in homers. That was Thursday night. I'm going to put things out of reach. And then yesterday, look at this tank. If there's going bridge and then there's going bridge.
Yeah.
You went bridge.
I mean, when you're standing on the catwalk up above the bullpen and then you turn around and watch it fly, that means it went a ways, and it did right there. Arroyo, a couple home runs in each of the first two. Virginia has been in this spot each of the first two games. They won them both. Now the heart of this lineup coming up, trying to get the Who's back in it, down just two.
Arroyo in the on-deck circle and need a base runner for Brian O'Connor's team. And Henry Ford, the local Charlottesville legend, will lead things off. First pitch to the right fielder upstairs, 1-0 from Aiden Keenan. Ford, a single today. The average looks good for Ford, but you see just the two homers. Overall this season, 7 extra base hits. Last year, it was 30. Including 17 home runs and a 3-homer game here at Disharoon Park. On the ground to third. Nice play on the short hop by Haskins, who throws high to first. But Sasaki's little leap gets the out. Here's Henry, and here's Chris Arroyo. Haskins. Arroyo today, 1 for 3. First pitch misses. It's 1-0. This is last 4 games for Arroyo. It's going back to the end of the Duke series. Hit game earlier this season. It's incredible to me that Chris Arroyo started his college career at Florida, where he was a pitcher only.
He didn't get it at bat his freshman year at Florida.
Wanted to hit, went to Pasco Hernando Junior College, and was very good as both a hitter and a pitcher. 19 homers, hit over 400, and a 3.53 ERA last year. He has not pitched very much for Virginia this year, but he has been an anchor in their lineup. 2-2.
A little something different about that Keenan fastball, because that's twice now that Arroyo has swung through pitches that he's generally at least going to make contact with or put in play.
I have to look on the monitor, but it looks like it's almost got a little bit of late run to it. Full now. Base runner. They're down a pair here in the 8th. Arroyo delivers that base runner. A one-out single for the first baseman. Here comes Henry Godbout.
It's probably one of the better located fastballs, too, of this at-bat from Aiden Keenan. Trying to go up and away. It sneaks back up and in, but not an easy spot for Arroyo to get to. Got enough of the barrel to it. Driving out to right, keep the line going, and now Godbout, who has had a pretty good weekend himself, comes up.
1 for 3. Godbout has been hitting near the top of the lineup. They moved him down into the 5-hole to try and lengthen things out. That's with Aiden Teal moving into the leadoff spot for Virginia. This is a guy that just can really hit. Not a ton of power this season. Junior takes low. It's 1-1. Arroyo getting the lead from first. Godbout the tying run at the plate in the 8th. And he lines it into left center field. Hot on the run, can't get there. It's a base hit. Arroyo stops at second, and Virginia has the tying runs aboard. And Jacob Ferentz coming to the plate.
Both hits in this inning for Virginia on elevated fastballs. Good job of Godbout that time to center that one up out to left center. Hot cut it off to make sure that the base runners couldn't advance any further. But now you get Ferentz, and we talked about that power last year. There was plenty of it. Well, when there is here today, it was blowing out to left center. So you backspin something to left or left center, it's going to help.
Ferentz 2 for 3 today. Just 2 homers on the season, but one of them was Tuesday night against the Liberty Flames. And he takes a breaking ball strike. It's 0-1. Eden starting him with off speed. Ferentz, a preseason All-American, the single-season home run leader at Division III Salisbury, where he played before transferring to Virginia a year ago. Takes a strike. It's 0-2. You see the significant difference in the home run totals for the catcher. 0-2 the count. The pitch. Swing and a miss. Ran that fastball under his hand, so that's out number 2. A huge strikeout for Keenan.
That's a pretty good sequence right there now. You go break a ball. Ferentz takes both of them to get an 0-2 hole, and then this one's unhittable. I mean, that's got a little bit of arm side run at 93 under the hands. Ferentz kind of climbed on the plate a little bit, so that pitch inside is going to crowd him even more. Couldn't pull the trigger. And a big spot for Keenan to get the strikeout.
2 outs for the freshman Nunnally, 0 for 3 today. Tying runs aboard for Virginia in the 8th. Keenan's first pitch. Upstairs, 1-0. Nunnally had a key misplay defensively. The fielding error. Stanford's 3-run second. He taps it foul, 1-1. The freshman had the go-ahead 2-run double on Thursday night. He was a very highly touted recruit from suburban D.C. He was all Met for the Washington Post last year. He's got a chance here to potentially give his team the lead. Inside, 2-1. It would be quite a time for his first collegiate home run.
Yes, this would qualify as quite a time.
Can you say that I may have undersold the importance of the moment? 2-1. On the ground to second. Nava has it go through the wickets into right field. Arroyo around third. He'll score, and it's a 1-run game.
Stanford Stanford's been really good defensively today, and Nadi's been great with the bat. This one, it's hit hard, but it's hit right at him. Let's see if this stays down. Gonna stay down all the time. That's a hop he's going to handle most of the time, though. It's had enough time to react to it, but instead right through Nadi's legs. Fields it cleanly, innings over. Instead, Virginia adds one, now within one. Chance to take the lead.
Tying run in scoring position. Go ahead run at first for Sean James. Struck out as a pinch hitter his first at bat. The freshman swings and misses 0-1. James All-State in South Carolina a year ago. Takes outside. 1-1. Look at the breeze on this cloudy, warm day here in Charlottesville. The 1-1. Down low. Good take on that breaking ball. 2-1. You saw it early. In the air to right. Pretty well hit. Reynolds going back. He's got room shy of the track to make the catch, and the inning is over. Keenan gets out of the jam. We head to the ninth. Stanford up a run. This game important in the standings. You see both Stanford and Virginia 5 and 6 in conference. North Carolina with a lead on Miami today in the second game of that series. Louisville leading Cal 9-7 after, boy, that was a wild game yesterday where Cal came back 9-2, had the lead in the bottom of the ninth and lost. And NC State leading Duke 4-2. Duke got off to such a rough start in non-conference. They are playing very well right now. These two teams trying to get the ship righted. These Virginia fans hoping that the new pitcher can post a 0 and give their team a chance at the bottom of the ninth. This is the junior Ryan Osinski from Alexandria, Virginia.
He two pitched in the opener of this series. Osinski 2/3 of an inning, 17 pitches, gave up 3 hits, 1 run. It was earned, didn't walk anybody, struck out 1.
Faces the heart of the Stanford order, starting with Timo Becerra. Becerra 1 for 3, takes a strike. It's 0-1. Becerra had maybe the key at bat in Stanford's 3-run 7th inning. With first and second and nobody out, he laid down a 2-strike sacrifice bunt attempt. The Drew Kennan, the pitcher, bobbled. It allowed Becerra to reach, and Stanford would go on to score 3 runs after that on a walk, hit by pitch, and a double play with the bases loaded. Becerra up the alley in left center on the run. Nunnally makes the catch, 1 out. And here's Rintaro Sasaki. Sasaki has been on base twice. A single and that bases loaded walk that tied the game in the 7th. And he was behind 1-2 in the count in that.
Yeah, he worked it to a 3-2 count, took a fastball just off the plate.
Sasaki 2 for 12 in the series. The highly, highly touted freshman waits. Swing and a miss. 97 for Osinski. It's 0-1. Osinski, the transfer from Bucknell, where he was the closer last year, misses outside. It's 1-1. The set. 1-1 misses. It's 2-1. tried to check his swing. He held up, and the count 3-1 to Sasaki. I'd say that the Virginia fans don't seem to agree. Sasaki with a little grin.
I like this feeling. Got a fired up crowd on a Saturday afternoon.
It's a one-run game in the ninth. A 3-1. Sasaki skies one into shallow center. Who wants it? That's a third baseman, Hansen, calling for it for out number 2. Coming up later this afternoon on the ACC Network, a pair of great softball games. Number 16, Stanford, is at Virginia Tech in just a matter of moments, followed by Cal at Clemson. Pair of teams sitting just outside the top 25. That comes up top of the hour, the ACC Network. 2 outs, nobody on, top of the ninth. Dave Esker will use one of his 3 offensive timeouts to meet with Charlie Salm. Is the nature of this conversation anything offensive? Would you prefer, which fast food would you prefer as we stop on our way to DC for the flight?
Yeah, I think this one's just, let's take the air out, see if we can get everybody boo me for a minute, and then you can go back, go to work. Sometimes you miss getting booed. It feels good every once in a while. I do.
Again, like I don't need to get into the therapy with you, but you did point out that your kids don't like to talk to you very much.
No, sometimes they boo me, though, and that feels better. And I'm right at home.
I just want to feel something, right?
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Good night.
Daddy loves you. Charlie Salm now checks in. 0 for 3 with a hit by pitch. That was the hit by pitch with the bases loaded that gave Stanford the lead in the 7th. They're clinging to a 1-run advantage. And looking ahead to the 9th, Luke Hansen, who has been on base 9 times in 3 games, will lead off for Virginia. Saw him, his first hit of the series comes with 2 outs. Here comes Jimmy Nadai. And the key error that led to Virginia's run in the 8th. He's also homered in this game. Hit into a pair of double plays. 7-6 Stanford, top of the 9th. Liner up the alley, left center field. That'll get down for a base hit. Teal over to get it, saw him to third, and Stanford trying to put together a 2-out rally with runners at the corners and 2 outs in the 9th.
And Nadai continues what's been a really good offensive weekend. Singled and scored in the 2nd. Solo home run in the 3rd. Now his 3rd hit is a 2-out single here in the 9th.
7 hits in the series for the second baseman, and now Brady Reynolds will hit. He has a pair of hits, and he absolutely smoldered a ball his last time up right at the right fielder, Henry Ford. Stanford would love to get that run they gave up in the 8th back. Any insurance is big. And Reynolds will deliver with a 2-out RBI single. It's 8-6. 3rd hit of the game for the right fielder.
Back-to-back 2-out singles right there. 2 outs, nobody on for Stanford, and I think it's happened in 3 pitches. If I'm right, I think it was first pitch, everybody's swinging. Reynolds does it another time right here. Fastball in or half, spins on it. After Salm went 1st to 3rd on the Natai single, he comes in to score and extend that Stanford lead to 2.
The offensive timeout with 2 outs. Maybe it was, hey, let's put on the 2-out offense for Dave Esker. This pitch is strike to Moore.
The 2-out offense sign is always a really good one. And they don't always get it, but when
you know
they
who doesn't like a pitcher?
No.
They're not a big fan of it, right?
You try to take it off.
You wipe to something else?
Yeah.
0-1 outside. 1-1. and hitless in 4 trips today. Freshman DH. Stanford trying to snap a 5-game ACC losing streak and salvage the finale on this East Coast swing through Central Virginia. Runners go. The 1-2 chopped to short. Becker to first, inning over. Stanford gets a run, and the last chance for Virginia as they trail by a pair. We go to the bottom of the 9th here at Charlottesville. Last chance for Virginia. They trail Stanford 8-6 as we go to the bottom of the 9th. For those of you tuning in for UFC, it started on the ESPN app. We will get you to Mexico City at the conclusion of our game. And Aiden Keenan trying to finish this off for Stanford. He will face 9, 1, and 2 in the Virginia order. Luke Hansen has been on base 9 times in this series. Including twice today. A terrific series for the number 9 hitter. Infield pinched in at the corners. First pitch. Hansen takes one that goes to the screen. 1-0. Bottom of the Virginia order has fueled their offense. They scored 24 runs over the first 2 games in the series. They had been scuffling offensively coming in. And Hansen, another base hit. On base for a 10th time in the series, and the tying run is coming to the plate in the 9th.
That's pretty impressive 3 days right there for your 9-0 hitter. Consistently on base in different ways, and reached base 2 of the 3 times that he came to the plate coming into that at bat. That hard single gets things started right here for Virginia.
6 for 8 with 4 walks in the 3 games and Aiden Teal hits. Teal a double in 4 trips today. First pitch, center fielder takes outside, 1-0. Charlie Sum going to go out to visit with Aiden Keenan again. I think he stopped to have to check, do we have mound visits remaining? You don't want to get into a situation, you're only allowed 6 that don't result in a substitution, so we saw it at Omaha a couple of years ago with Kevin O'Sullivan losing track of it for Florida and having to pull his All-American closer out of the game. Trevor Moore, one of the top relievers for Stanford, getting loose in the pen. One and 0 the count to Teal. Third baseman Haskins trying to take away a potential bunt hit. He's playing in. There's a strike. It's 1-1. Start to get into the heavy hitters in this Virginia lineup right after Teal. So Keenan really needs an out here. The 1-1 fouled away. It's 1-2. Got hit under his hands a little bit there. To the count. Slow roller foul to first. Those 2 pitches he's trying to get in on Teal. Teal a little quicker that time. Does that open up the outside part of the plate?
Yeah, potentially, but I also wouldn't be afraid to go back to it. I mean, that did get in on his hands. If it stays fair, it's definitely an out. It was right to Sasaki. I do really like the heartbeat of Keenan. It fits for big spots. It doesn't seem like he gets too worked up about anything. Well, there's plenty of confidence there, but he does look comfortable in the spot.
1-2. Teal in the air to left center. Hot drifting over, makes the catch. Out number one, Hansen back to first. So that big out that we talked about for Keenan, he gets it there. And here's Eric Becker. Becker, a pair of hits and 2 knocked in today. He's knocked in 6 runs over these 3 games. The tying run at the plate for Virginia in the 9th. First pitch to Becker. Bounced foul first. Stanford has lost 5 straight ACC games. They were swept at home by Cal. The first time Cal has ever swept a series at the Farm. So they dropped the first 2 in this one to Virginia, but trying to hold on today. The 0-1. In the dirt, it gets away from Somm, and that'll let Hansen go to second. Takes away the possibility of the double play. It does leave Stanford a base open to play with, but not that they would be walking Becker in this spot, KP, but it's something to watch as we get later in this inning. 1-1. The pitch. Foul back, who is all over that heater. It's 1-2. Low, it's 2-2. Virginia has 3 hits of men in scoring position in this series. They need to get at least 1 more base runner to get the go-ahead, the winning run to the plate here in the 9th. And now the count goes full to Becker, and Henry Ford is on deck. Moore keeps throwing in the bullpen for Stanford. The 3-2. Ripped foul off the first base dugout, maybe off one of the Stanford players.
And for Keenan, too, he's only gone 50 pitches or more once this year. He's generally not a guy that goes through the order more than one time. He's in that position now. Now everybody he faces will have already seen him today.
To the right side, Sasaki has to go over his glove and into right field. A run is going to score, and it's a 1-run game. A high chopper, and Sasaki just missed it.
That's how 2 balls each of the last 2 innings that are very, very routine plays, honestly. I mean, this is a high hop, and it's going to be a top spinner, so that hop that Sasaki gets is going to be there. Kind of hesitated. Took that first step in, and then I think maybe got caught more with a tweener hop than he wanted. Well, pops over his glove. Enough time for Hansen to come around to score. Remember, Hansen gets to second base on a wild pitch, then scores on a ball that should have been the second out of the inning.
And now the tying run at first for Henry Ford, and the right fielder takes the ball in the dirt. Somm banged into him. Looking for the loose ball. It's 1-0. Henry Ford with just 2 home runs this season, but 17 a season ago. The Charlottesville native with a chance to walk off Stanford if he can run into one. The 1-0. 2-0. Stanford has not lost when leading after 8. Virginia had a huge comeback against Cal 2 weeks ago with 8 in the 9th to beat them in Berkeley. As there's a strike, it's 2-1. Two and one, they count to 4. Becker the lead from first. 3-1. And the leading home run hitter for Virginia, Chris Arroyo, is on deck. An enormous pitch here. Fly ball, right field, twisting towards the line. It falls fair. Becker will make third on the bloop single from Ford, and now the winning run is aboard.
This ball stayed in the air a long time. We talked about that win. There's not a whole lot, but anything is going to keep this ball fair. Watch where Brady Reynolds starts. I mean, he is 10 to 15 steps on the opposite side of that dead spot in right field, which shows you where the right fielder mostly plays. No chance he can get to this. The only chance for Stanford is as if it falls foul. It does not. It looked to be a routine fly ball off the bat of Henry Ford. Falls for a long single.
Go ahead.
You got a ground ball in the infield just before this that you think is the second out of the inning, and then a fly ball that off the bat you think there's a pretty good chance somebody's going to get to. In the end, it was just put in a spot that nobody could, and Virginia ain't going anywhere yet.
Thomas eager out to try and settle down the troops. It's the longest outing pitch-wise for Keenan this year. They have more loose in the bullpen. Eager staying with the sophomore right-hander. Long conference, and he's going to stick with his relief ace. Tying run 90 feet away. Winning run is at first. Arroyo 2 for 4 with a pair of singles. Ford at first base, not really a threat to run. Arroyo homered in the first 2 games of this series. First pitch, strike. Well located fastball, it's 0-1. You're not kidding, KP. Keenan's demeanor has not changed at all.
Not on any of the balls that were mishandled, not in the biggest spots. It looks exactly the same.
The 0-1. Swing and a miss. It's 0-2. Now 3 times he's had pitches in that same spot that Arroyo swung through today. Arroyo had a base hit against Keenan and scored a run in the 8th. 8-7 Stanford, bottom 9. The pitch. Swing and a miss. Arroyo down on strikes, 2 outs.
The last time he threw 2 fastballs by Arroyo, they tried to come in and he got 2. And this one just up and out of the zone in the right spot, you throw an 0-2. Elevated up, there's nothing he's going to do to you. You may foul it off, but you're probably not going to put that ball in play. Arroyo went after it, swings through it. Aiden Keenan gets a giant strikeout right there.
The last chance for Virginia is Henry Godbout. Tying run at third, winning run at first, last of the 9th. Keenan's first pitch. Godbout takes ball 1. He had Godbout locked up and just missed. Godbout 2 for 4 today. One of their best hitters with men in scoring position this season. Takes a strike. It's 1-1. Living and dying on every single pitch right now. The 1-1. That one misses. It's 2-1. 3 straight breaking balls to Godbout. The 2-1. Called strike, it's 2-2. And now Stanford 1 strike away from winning the finale here in Charlottesville.
Go 3 straight breaking balls to start the at-bat, get to 2-1, then down a fastball on the outside part of the plate. We'll see where Keenan goes here. It feels like everything so far in this at-bat has been away from Godbout.
The 2-2 fouled away. Ford was running on the pitch. They were set up to go away again.
You can see the Stanford coaching staff right there, too. Just telling their middle infielders, even if there's motion, don't move. Stay and defend right now. They're not going to throw through. If they run, they're going to give them second base. You don't want to give up the defensive chance by moving towards the bag.
Runner goes. 2-2, fouled away again. Now time to go back to that breaking ball if you're Keenan.
Yeah, and 2-2 count, you don't necessarily have to throw it for a called strike.
Two and 2. Grounder into left field, a base hit, the game is tied. A 2-out, 2-strike, game-tying single for Henry Godbout, and we're even at 8.
Well, he went back to the fastball. And Godbout had seen a little bit of everything. This is the second time that he had faced Aiden Keenan today. After the big strikeout, this fastball with a simple approach, man. I mean, that really is a don't try to do too much with it. Just barrel it up, get it in the outfield. And Virginia, 1 in the 8, now 2 in the 9th, has come back to tie.
And the winning run now in scoring position. And the first pitch outside to Jacob Ferentz, 1-0. Ferentz, a pair of hits today. Struck out against Keenan in the 8th. He takes a strike. It's 1-1.
Keenan's first time facing Ferentz. He went breaking ball, that fastball in on his hands. It was probably his best sequence of any hitter that he's faced today.
Ferentz adjusting at shin guard. Winning run at second. The pitch, 1-2. Last of the 9th. Fouled away. He hasn't come back in with that fastball under the hands yet.
No, he hasn't. That approach right there by Ferentz, too, made it look like he's protected against breakable. I mean, gets enough of the fastball right there just to stay alive, but I think he's looking for the breakable. There's still going to be room fastball in, but you got to make sure you get it in.
Fouled away again. 8-8 the score, bottom of the 9th, 2 outs, the winning run in scoring position. Stanford's outfield is so shallow, Reynolds and Wright can almost shake hands with Sasaki at first.
I don't know why with 2 outs. I understand ball on the ground of the outfield, but ball in the air over their head beats it.
Ferentz into left field. That one will be caught. Oh, what a catch! A game-saving play by Tatum Stanford left fielder. And we're headed to extra innings in Charlottesville. Amazing. To the 10th we go, tied at 8. Too much? Here's a look at the catch that, as of now, ended the bottom of the ninth by Tatum Marsh. Did he hold on all the way through the play? The ball bounces up a little bit on the heel of his glove. It's very tough to see. I do not know, KP, whether or not that one touched the grass. It doesn't feel like it did. An incredible catch by Marsh.
That was unbelievable. I mean, there are dives where you don't necessarily have to. And there are dives where you have no chance to make a play, and he absolutely laid out to have a chance and potentially save the game. I think it's a catch. Now, he catches it in the heel of his glove for sure, and that's where you see when he comes down, that glove's turned over a little bit. The ball actually may touch grass, but I think it stayed in his glove all the way.
An incredible play. You know, we were just talking about how shallow the Stanford outfield was. Marsh was the deepest of the three. And if he's in a couple more steps, there's no way he gets to that ball.
No, but he still wasn't playing normal depth.
We are waiting for Greg Street, our crew chief. And he will confirm that it is a catch on the field. And so we head to extra innings officially now.
What a play.
I mean,
you can't see that one enough. I know we got March Madness basketball and stuff all over the place, but that one's got to be SportsCenter top 10 because, I mean, not only is as good a play as you're going to see in left field, but it saves the game all at once.
Tatum Marsh robbing Jacob Ferentz. Marsh, the freshman, has had a very good series. On base 3 times today, and that catch that gave Stanford a chance after Virginia got 2 in the 9th. So here's how Virginia started their comeback. In the 8th, down a pair. This ground ball through the legs of Jimmy Nadai brought home a run. In the 9th inning, this is a bouncing ball over the head of Rentaro Sasaki. An error on the first baseman that allowed Luke Hansen to score, and this blooper that somehow stayed fair off the bat of Henry Ford, setting up the game-tying base hit from Henry Godbout, and then the Tatum Marsh catch. Winning run at second base. An incredible grab. That one's going on an ACC promo, I think.
That one probably better. You could see Stanford's had the lead in every game, and Virginia's fought all the way back. And for the freshman Marsh, we talk about how consistently he's been on base, which has been important, but no moment this weekend for Stanford has been more important than that one.
He's due up second in this inning. Dave Esker's team trying to get the finale here. 8-9-1 due against Osinski. Starting with Ethan Hott. Hott walked and stole a base in the 8th. He singled and he had a sacrifice bunt. Hott playing because of the injury to Charlie Bates. This is the 3rd extra inning game for both these teams this year. Virginia's 0-2. Stanford had split theirs. Man, what a ball game this turned into.
This is awesome.
We were fortunate last Sunday. We had Clemson and Wake Forest. Clemson coming back from a 6-0 deficit to win on a walk-off wild pitch. That was a little different game. Lots of walks, lots of base runner tense moments. This one has been a terrific ball game. And Hott with a base hit into the alley in left center. He'll take a big turn and hold on first. And Stanford has the leadoff man on in the 10th.
And Hodge quietly having a really good offensive day, too. That's his second hit. He's got 2 singles. He had a sac bunt, walked and stole a base back in the 8th. He's been on base 3 out of 5 times and had a sac bunt in between.
Marsh will hit. Oddbout needed a new, looks like a pitch communication device. Either a new one or he forgot his. Infield pinched at the corners. Well, obviously, Arroyo holding the runner first. Hansen in at third. Marsh not showing bunt on that throw to first. So, as well as he swung the bat, would you let him swing away here in this situation? I mean, this is your top on base guy.
I'd be tempted to, yeah, but he's been on base all 4 times today.
Made the game-saving catch in the bottom of the 9th. And if he is going to bunt, he hasn't given anything away as of yet. He squares late and takes a strike. It's 0-1. We talked earlier, Stanford does not run much. They've only stolen 6 bases on the season, but one of those was hot in the 8th inning. A bunt, and that one fouled. That's 1-1. Marsh, the number 9 hitter, so this lineup will turn over to the best hitters for Stanford. Maybe one of the reasons why he is looking to get the runner into scoring position. The senior Haskins on deck. The 0-2. Squares and takes high. 1-2. Even with 2 strikes, looks like he's being asked to get a bunt down. And he does. With 2 strikes, a nice job, as Osinski will throw him out in the sacrifice.
Yeah, that's a good one there, too. First and foremost to get it down, but dead it down the first base line. There's no chance that Virginia can get that late runner at second. Stanford turns the lineup over.
Haskins today 2 for 5 with a pair of singles. 8-8, top of the 10th. Brian O'Connor is going to head out to the mound. He has a lefty getting loose in his bullpen. Matthew Buchanan, the senior, who threw a third of an inning yesterday. Osinski appeared on Thursday night. I have to think with a couple of righties here. No, in fact, he is going to go to the left-hander. Is it the left-hander? It is.
Let's see who was up.
He is going to Buchanan here. So the senior's going to come in to replace Osinski in this spot. So we'll tell you about the new Virginia pitcher in a moment. Stanford with the go-ahead run in scoring position in the 10th. Tied at 8. 8-8 the score as we are in the 10th inning. Virginia getting 2 in the bottom of the 9th to tie it, and then Tatum Marsh saving the game with an incredible diving catch. And the new pitcher on for Virginia is the left-hander Matthew Buchanan, the senior. Lebanon, Virginia.
And you said it may be a little bit surprising with Haskins and Becerra coming up next, both from the right side when you had Osinski out there. But Osinski had worked a couple days ago. And O'Connor just playing the hunch with the senior right here to get him in there.
Buchanan spent 4 years in this program. 31 appearances over his first 3 seasons. As he comes on.
Canada guy too. That it's not an overpowering fastball. I mean, it's mid-80s for the most part. Changeup's very good, especially against right-handers. And it could be one of those things to where for Brian O'Connor, you really trust that changeup against righties, similar to what we saw from Evan Blanco earlier today.
Go ahead run at second. Haskins with a pair of hits today. And they're going to intentionally walk Haskins to get to Timo Becerra. So the powerful Haskins gets past. Becerra has a hit in 5 trips today. Becerra getting some last-second instructions, it looks like, from Steve Rodriguez, third base coach for Stanford. First pitch. Becerra line to third, caught by Hansen, throw it at second, not in time. Ooh, Godbout nearly got there, and Becerra blistered that one. 2 outs.
And hot on second base, especially with a secondary lead. This is a pretty good job to get back because this is a hot shot. He didn't break towards third. He froze at the end of the secondary and just got that right hand in time to avoid getting doubled off.
Boy, that was very close at second base.
That ball was smoked, too.
Here we go, 2 outs for Rintaro Sasaki. Stanford trying to reclaim the lead here in the 10th. First pitch. Outside the ball, 1-0. The all-time leading home run hitter in prep history in Japan. Played for his dad, who was coached Shohei Ohtani and Yusei Kikuchi. Sasaki in the air to center. Teal over. He'll make the catch. And Buchanan gets out of it. The senior fired up as we head to the bottom of the 10th. Stanford and Virginia tied at 8. Whale of a baseball game today. If you're just tuning in, Virginia got within a run thanks to that error by Jimmy Nadai. Stanford got the run back in the 9th, and then this ball bouncing over the head of Rintaro Sasaki. An error on the first baseman allowed Virginia to close within a run. And Henry Ford hit what seemed like a harmless fly ball that was twisting foul. It landed just fair. And Henry Godbout's 2-out single tied the game. Virginia had a chance to win it. Jacob Ferentz at the plate. And the freshman Tatum Marsh for Stanford. A game-saving catch to end the 9th. And now we work in the 10th. Virginia, 9 wins when trailing at any point, including a pair in this series already. They'll have the bottom third of the order due against the new pitcher Trevor Moore for Stanford. Aiden Keenan's longest outing in terms of pitches this season to get it to extras. First pitch to Nunnally. Takes down low, 1-0. Nunnally, the freshman, and another freshman in Sean James, and Luke Hansen, who has been Virginia's best offensive player in this series. 2-0. Two and one. Not only the freshman, you see the average down under 250 with his 0 for today. Shot foul, 2-2. saw Trevor Moore on Thursday. He is one of the more trusted arms. In fact, he was on the Snapper of the Year watch list coming into this season.
Yeah, it's coming off a good year. This year the ERA is about 5, but for Moore, there's pretty good swing and miss. 21 strikeouts in 17 innings. But like you said, he is one of those right arms, regardless of exactly what the numbers are, that this Stanford coaching staff really does trust.
Two. Not only to center field, a base hit, and the winning run's aboard to start the 10th. That'll bring up Sean James, and you'd think that the freshman here would likely be bunting. James 0 for 2, a 3-hit game yesterday. He entered as a pinch hitter for Harrison Didowick back in the 6th. First pitch. James squares the bunt and takes high, 1-0.
A Virginia team historically that does not sack bunt a whole lot. Kevin McMullen doesn't do it a ton. 10 times this season as a team, Sean James doesn't have any of those.
He squares and takes a strike. It's 1-1. Not only at first has a pair of stolen bases this year, he's not running as James pushes the bunt foul first base side in the count 1-2.
And he doesn't look comfortable bunting. And you see a lot of kids that come in, especially as freshmen, they didn't bunt in high school, ever. Like, they didn't bunt for their team, they didn't bunt in the showcase circuit, they didn't bunt at all. And now you're in a case to where from time to time you're asked to do it at this level, and you can tell for James right there, the bat was never squared up, he never looked comfortable standing in there doing it.
One-two, he squares the bunt again and bunts through it, and that's the first out. So Ward gets a strikeout, and now here's Hansen. Hansen has been on base in 10 of his 12 plate appearances in this series, including 3 more times today. He's scored 5 runs, including 1 in the 9th. Winning run at first, bottom of the 10th. First pitch. Hansen takes low. 1-0. Boy, huge secondary lead by Nunnally there. Some thought about throwing behind him. Checking on the runner at first.
I think that was more because of the pitch clock. Pitch clock was down to 3. And just to make sure that you don't get a ball called right there, he turns and picks.
Hansen pops it up. Foul territory. Some with a play, 2 outs. And it'll be up to Teal.
Saw him through the mask and the hat. You don't see that very much. He had the hat turned up backwards underneath his mask. He got rid of the mask first, and then waited a tick, grabbed the hat, and threw that aside too.
It'll be up to Aiden Teal. Teal has doubled and scored. That was back in the 3rd. First pitch outside, 1-0. through the right side, a base hit. It's going to be a long run for Reynolds to get there. Nunnally's on his horse. He's going to be waved home. Here comes the relay to the plate. It is not in time. Virginia wins. Charlie Song can't believe it. They're going to ask for a review, it appears. But as of right now, Virginia has defeated Stanford in 10 innings to sweep this series 9-8. And this will be an umpire's review. From here, KP, and we have a pretty good look, it looked like he was safe. We'll see on the replay.
I'll tell you this, the glove got down to where the hand was and definitely made contact with the slide into home plate. Now the question is, did the hand just get there and beat it? It wasn't a swipe tag. I think there was absolutely contact. And the throw on the relay was about as good as you could do it, because the initial throw from right field, they went out to double cut it. All right, watch.
I think right there, the left hand, that orange mitt is on the plate.
Yeah, if that touches the plate, he's safe. I think you're right. I think this one stands.
Reynolds was way over in the alley in right center and had to run a mile to get to that ball. And you could sense when that ball started rolling in the outfield that Nunnally was going to try to score all the way from first. One more look here.
Yeah, it looks like that left hand gets in there.
Yeah, the bat in the middle of the plate makes it difficult. I think he is safe, and I think this is going to stand, and I think Virginia is going to have just swept Stanford in this series.
You look at this too. Stanford led in every single game of this series, and Virginia came all the way back. And if this does stand, you had two teams coming in, both coming off sweeps, but the record's very different. Stanford was 5-4, Virginia was 3-6. And I think the one thing that stands out if you're a Virginia fan is that offense looks like they're back, because these last 2 days it was very different.
Greg Street, they'll say he is safe, and a second celebration for the Hoos. And Virginia is back after they sweep Stanford, and Stanford's losing streak in the ACC goes to 6. What a ball game today, KP.
Yeah, what a weekend. Honestly, I mean, this is two-story programs, two teams that are used to being in Omaha every single year. And, you know, for the Cardinal, I think the positive you take back is you're probably closer than you were when you came in. But ultimately, man, this is a heartbreaker. And it's a giant lift for Virginia. You get back to 500 in the league. They go to NC State and to Florida State the next 2 weeks. So, chance to continue padding that record and ultimately that RPI. But we didn't talk about it a lot, but Virginia's RPI was 99 coming into this game. It was 139 coming into the weekend. If you sweep a team like Stanford, that helps on the RPI standpoint, get you back to the midpoint in the league.
For Brian O'Connor, the man who has built this Virginia program, career victory number 900. Here's a look at the winning base hit again.
Yeah, watch how far Reynolds has to go. That's the key right here. Was shading him the opposite way, and ultimately so far to go. And a great throw that gave Charlie Song a chance to get that tag down, but the left hand just gets in and ends it.
Boy, Nunnally even hesitated for a moment rounding third and still managed to get in. And Virginia, with some good fortune in the late innings that hasn't been the case for them over the course of the season to this point, is able to sweep Stanford and wins today 9-8. in 10 innings. A huge victory for Virginia and a terrific ball game between two teams that we are likely to see in baseball's postseason this year. That'll do it for us here in Charlottesville. Coming up next, UFC preliminaries from Mexico City. For Kyle Peterson and our entire outstanding crew here in Charlottesville, I'm Mike Farron saying so long and thanks for joining us. Virginia walks off Stanford in 10, 9-8.